your photos, throw out your Twinkies, throw up your ho-hos, tuck in them pinkies, them shits ain't no-no. The first Florida man was Fernando de Soto, brought to my attention by the man with the mojo. My 8 subscriber, I'm a bagoso, jump in them sinkies and dump them mimosos. The first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. We went live and the stream crashed, so we had to try it again. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show on my channel. Also, we're broadcasting live on Generally Specific's channel. So hello, people over there. Nice to see you. This is my channel. This is what we do over here. I'd like to introduce my guest to my people. This is Generally Specific, and he's here. Yay.
Hello, Generally Specific. My company name is the Duct Tape Production. So apparently I LLC. Apparently I brought some duct tape over here and ruined it for you.
Perfect. Do you want to tell people a little
550 cord duct tape? We'll get it fixed.
Tell people a little bit about yourself and your channel.
Well, I think the best way to do that is to, I'm like a box of chocolates, cable TV. You never really know what you're going to get. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And if you are watching on my channel, I would highly encourage you to come over to her channel. And I'm going to put the link. I'm going to have to make sure I get the link for it, and I'll put it in mine and pin it. And just kind of a little bit mixed bag of nuts, politics, philosophy, just a little bit of everything. Some 1A auditing coverage, gaming. I mean,
you had a cooking stream this afternoon.
There's cooking, there's homesteading, it's very frenetic, and it's very I guess schizophrenic. That would be the best way to put it.
So I've invited you here today to talk about specifically Steven Crowder and this deposition that just dropped of his. But in order to get to that, we have to know what happened and why he's being sued. So we'll start with the incident that happened that he misreported on, and then we'll get to his deposition, and we'll add commentary along the way. But first, if you're here, if you're new, these are my co-hosts. This is Zena. She's my regular co-host. Zena, wake up. Look alive. And her partner Ava, who's a little more alive today. If anybody supports the channel in any way while we are alive, these two get Milk Bones on air. And if we're in the middle of something, as soon as we come to a pause point, we will do that. So I just wanted to let you know that's why they're here. This is my grift. That's why they're here. Everybody's got to have a grift. So we're going to talk about Mauricio Martinez Garcia. He was born October 24th, 1989, and he went to Bryan Adams High School. This guy seemed like a normal guy to start with, right? I guess since we're just starting, since I've only gotten one sentence in, we'll do this super chat real quick. Hey, Doc, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Zena appreciates it. Ava appreciates it. GS probably appreciates it too. There we go. Come on. A little bit of effort, Zena. A little effort. This is your job. This is how we pay for the Milk Bones. Yikes. It's her nap time. She knows Sunday at 4:30 is her nap time. We have one more coming in. We'll get this one too. Thank you so much, Don Furman. I appreciate it. So back to Mauricio. He seemed like a normal guy. He went to high school at Bryan Adams High School. He was described as quiet and soft-spoken, but there's a lot of people who are quiet and soft-spoken in high school, so kind of normal. He was socially awkward, but he did have a few very close friends. But of course, after high school, like it happens to a lot of us, he kind of lost touch with those people. He decided he was going to join the army. This was going to be his way out of his, mundane kind of life with no social. He didn't really have girls that he was talking to. He's what you would call an incel. Like he used incel terms online. He He decided to enlist in the Army in June of 2008, but he never completed basic training, which is apparently a big deal on the internet if you don't complete basic training.
Where we've heard that before?
I know. This was because the Army decided that he was, they did an Article 5-17,
Mhm.
which refers to, Regulation 235-200. It's basically they thought he was crazy. I actually put the whole verbiage of it in the notes. I'm not gonna read all that. They thought he was not mentally stable enough to be a soldier, so they said, "See you later. We don't want you as part of the Army. Have a nice day." But, of course, he didn't do anything illegal necessarily, so there's no record of this. It doesn't come up when you do a records request on him or anything like that. So he was able to go and get a job as a security guard, as an armed security guard, and these security companies trained him. They trained him in, like, hand-to-hand combat, and they did firearms training with him and stuff like that, and he really took to the firearms a lot. He really liked it a lot. Which ends up being scary a couple years later, you know? Um, so he had an online presence on a Russian website called OK.ru, which I had not heard of until I started researching this. OK.ru, and it seems like, just from what I looked at, it seems sort of like the 4chan of Russia, and he was posting some incel-y and racist type stuff on there. Nobody saw this though because he kept it he kept his personal United States life. All the people on that website didn't really speak English, and even the ones that did figured that he was, you know, just some crazy dude from the United States. What did that have to do with him? So nobody reported him for posting this stuff, and he had, like, very few followers over there as well.
So can we kind of talk about the potential elephant in the room here?
Sure.
The last name, the first name, the sense that a alleged HH kind of type guy would be all about the goose stepping and the guy with the funny little mustache.
Oh, yeah. He was very Mexican. He was a very Mexican, outward appearing. His
Mhm.
picture is in the thumbnail. But yeah, he looked Mexican, he was Mexican, and he had a giant swastika tattoo, American History X style, right on his chest. "This means not welcome," that sort of tattoo, and an
Mhm.
SS on his arm, I believe. But yeah, he actually, I have it brought up here. Here we go. I will share the website. I was debating on whether I wanted to share, because the where I found the picture of it was on, the ADL website, but that's where I found it. Was debating on whether to share the ADL website, but, I will because it does have the pictures of this is actually a picture of him that he posted on that website.
Very interesting. The ink looks really fresh there. He looks like he's
Mhm.
really proud of it. Definitely the one on the arm.
Yeah, this was,
Uh,
it says it's an image that was posted in April of 2023, and he had just gotten those
so he
tattoos.
at that point in time, had he kind of had any ideations that, like, was he self-hating? We understand that he's very withdrawn. He was very reclusive. Would
Yeah.
not maintain relationships, even the limited ones he had. And
Mhm.
while he was in the army, he became even more withdrawn, which is why they became very concerned. When
Yeah.
you're on something like a team, like the army, you got to be able to communicate and associate, and
Yeah.
that's really interesting though. That what's the lore behind the fact that a very Mexican dude would try to be a part of a group that would likely laugh him out. Well, I mean, we got the Proud Boys with NT. What's that guy's name?
Enrico Ontario.
Yeah, Enrico, right? So I mean, but they were labeled a horribly, right wing kind of supremacist
But
group.
also, I don't really hear white supremacist,
Hmm.
thoughts or ideas coming out of that specific group. It's more of Christian nationalism, not white nationalism.
Right. Wow. It's
which
more
is
like
it's
it's just a
different.
breakfast cereal club. It's just
Yeah.
an excuse to sit around and drink beers. But then I
Mhm,
guess it became something else. And if I may go on the aside,
mhm,
Gavin McGinnis was famously quote. He gave a speech about it, saying that men's clubs used to be very ubiquitous in America. You know, bowling league, Shriners. You know, I
mhm.
mean, all of these different.
Well,
You
he
know,
started that group.
well, yeah, he started the group. It was a joke. It was just
Yeah.
a reason to sit around and drink beer. As a matter of fact, in order to get jumped in, you had guys surround you and punch you in the arms and legs until you could name 5 breakfast cereals.
Yep.
I mean, and then the next step I think was something about like a tattoo or something like that. And then there was like different levels, I guess, but it was just a big joke, man. It was just an
Yeah.
excuse to and of all walks of life, of all colors of the rainbow. Um, and but it's interesting how our country has an issue with men getting together and communicating with each other and building bonds with each other. That is seen as a dangerous thing for them. Patriots prayer,
Mhm.
Proud Boys, the 3%ers, what's the other group, anyway, I mean, it's just interesting,
I
any
don't
of
know.
these
You're more
militias.
versed on these groups than I am.
Right. But it is fascinating how they want to disrupt that
Yep.
ability to be together, but which is weird that this guy who seems to be a lone wolf type would want to try to be a part of a group that seems like it wouldn't want him in the first place.
Well, I think that, a lot of these groups, like you said, it's a joke. It's a reason for adults to find other adults that have similar interests to be friends with, right? It's hard to find friends as an adult.
Hmm.
And they joke around a lot about stuff like this, and I think he was mentally ill and took it seriously. And he wanted to have a group. He wanted to feel like he was part of something. And
Hmm.
I think he thought he was white passing, maybe?
Well, it's interesting. I was going to say that too, and I didn't know if I wanted to kind of dig that deep, but a lot of the crime statistics in the FBI that the FBI keeps,
Mhm.
they add Hispanics
Mhm.
to the white crime stats to kind of boost the white crime stats up. Hispanic white passing basically is they get added to the white crime
Even
stats.
Hispanic not white passing gets added to those statistics. There's not a
Oh,
separate
you're
column
right.
for Hispanic at all.
And it's kind of crazy because when you take the Hispanics out of that category, the crime of the white population drops precipitously.
Mhm. And I'm not
Again,
saying there's not white crime. There's obviously crime in every group.
well, considering we're like, well, we used to be the vast majority of the country's population. I think we're what in the 54 percentile now.
I don't remember what the
Yeah, I used to quote
stats are.
65, but I just heard recently we're only 54% of the
Mhm.
population. I'm just like, what's going on? Every other group should have a right to exist and be okay with existing, and I support them existing. But for some reason, if I go, hey, I don't want to be genocided, they go, shut up, white guy. I'm like, wait, what?
How dare you not wanna be genocided?
Yeah, all babies want to get born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so he had this online profile, and he thought he was a Nazi. He identified as an incel. He would use the Chad and Stacy language, all of that sort of stuff. And apparently on May 6, 2023, he got to the end of his rope, and he decided he was going to go out in a blaze of glory. So on that day, he went to the Allen outlet malls, which are located here just outside of Dallas, Texas, in Allen, Texas, but just outside of Dallas. And he started, let me do this instead so you can kind of see. He started kind of over here, and he pulled his car up and left it, um, door open, just parked in the middle of this drive lane here, and got out and just started shooting people. And he came up around this side and ended up somewhere up over here. But at the same time that that was happening, there was a police officer who was there just doing normal police stuff, making contact with the community, making his presence known at this outlet mall. So there's less likely to have shoplifters and stuff like that. And that officer was down, um, over in this area somewhere, and heard the shooting and started running towards it. which is amazing hero stuff, if you ask me. He was wearing all black tactical gear. He drove a silver sedan. He shot into the crowd. There was a crowd outside of the mall. He shot people driving by in their cars, and he just got out of his car, started walking and shooting what seemed to be indiscriminately. But when you look at the victim list, they were mostly minorities that he shot. The store employees recounted that the people were running from the shooters and they were alerting other people to run and hide. They were opening up the shops in this mall, were basically opening up their back rooms and letting all of the customers just pile in back there to hide out while this was all going on, which is amazing for them to do as well. They don't have to do that, you know? Yeah, so 9 people ended up dying, and one of them was the killer. Those people were, I just want to name the victims here just because we don't want to forget that there are actual real people that were affected by this. And I'm going to try to pronounce them correctly. It was Song Cho, Cindy Cho, James Cho, a whole family, a mother, a father, and a son, a 3-year-old son, all died that day. Asha Warner Tatkanda, age 27, Daniela Mendoza, age 11, Sophia Mendoza, age 8, Christian LaCour, age 20, Elio Rivas, age 32. 7 other people were injured. They were ranging from 5 to 61. So he was shooting kids. He was shooting adults. He was shooting whoever he saw, it seems like. So this is a short body cam of the perspective of the officer that was on duty. And you can see it goes from this officer talking to a family outside of their car about the safety of wearing seatbelts, just regular police stuff, protecting the community. And he springs into action so fast. This guy's amazing. Did you have anything to add before I start the...
Well, I mean, based on the victim names, I can kind of sort of understand why, well, first they were super eager to try to put out that it was a racially motivated and therefore somebody that looked like me did it or had my, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, you know, the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, the bad guy vibes. Yeah, I can see why they jumped on it, perhaps. I mean, because, well, I mean, does that just happen to be in the area, or was that person specifically targeting, you know, what seems to be what I guess they call now diversity, which is, you know.
Well, once they figured out who this guy was and found that Russian account, it was quite obviously that's what happened, is he was targeting minorities. But I did not look up the statistics for Allen, Texas. Also, it's an outlet mall. So any outlet mall that I've ever been to, it doesn't matter what the statistics for that area is, because people come from all over to go to an outlet mall, you know?
So you're saying like demographic wise, what's
yeah.
You know, I have actually a family member that lived in Allen, Texas for quite a long time, actually. So, yeah.
I want to remind everybody who's in the chat right now, hey, Waffle Salter, good to see you. But if you're here on my channel, please subscribe to Generally Specific's channel. I think you'll like it. And if you're there on his channel, please come over to my channel. I'd love that too.
Yeah, I put a message out and really hoping people will come over, at least give you a like, leave a comment. I hope they'll stay. And support her show, guys, if you could.
I do this every Sunday at 4:30, and then on Wednesdays at 8, Kfar and I do body cam stuff, which is a lot more fun and it's a lot less serious. It's kind of, we like to laugh at criminals on Wednesday nights and, you know, have a beer, that sort of stuff.
Yes,
so.
ma'am.
And make sure you...
All right.
FBI, open up.
Hey, make sure y'all be good, okay? And make sure you wear your seatbelts when mommy's driving, okay? You understand? Okay? Okay? All right. All right, you be good.
Escuchaste? Say always the...
Seatbelt?
Wow.
145. I think we got shots fired at the outlet mall.
Shots fired at the outlet.
I got people running.
Precinct 137.
Get going, get moving!
420 on the ground. Round good now.
They're moving further away from me. Go, keep moving! Get out of here! I'm bipolar, watching on moving, trying to get to them. They're still shooting.
Precinct.
101, everybody's not on call. Nobody else.
We're getting started right now.
I'm on foot. I need everybody I got. What? Yes! What you got? Are we a mass shooter? Yeah, we got people coming. .145, I believe we got a mass shooter. I got a magazine on the ground. Drop it! Drop it!
Ricky.
I'm
Got
passing
him right
engine.
there.
Precinct.
I'm moving as fast as I can, trying to get over there.
I just want to stop this for 1 second and say he said he's moving as fast as he can to get over there, and you see that he's walking. It's because once he gets there, he doesn't want to be so out of breath that he cannot take an accurate shot. So he's controlling his breathing as he gets there as quickly as he can without getting there and having to take a minute to regain his composure.
I was actually gonna point out something a little bit different. This would demonstrate the need for good cardiovascular conditioning.
Yeah.
Something like doing Muay Thai or any kind of combatives like that would really help to slow your heart rate down, to control your breathing, to not get, energized and exciting. But how do you train for a real world mass shooting?
Exactly.
When that adrenaline gets going, I think honestly, if I was to do an after action review for this, it definitely should have been in a squad car up to the point where he was closer to the perpetrator. Because then he would have that radio there, the protection of the vehicle a little bit more, and also not be out of breath by the time he arrives.
Yep.
The average person would probably be out of breath just driving there because of the adrenaline hit, and especially once the adrenaline gets up there. Like he said, I might possibly be injured, I think he said.
Yep.
The cop wasn't even sure whether or not he was shot right there.
No, the amount of adrenaline dumping
Yeah.
through your body at that point, we see that a lot with officer-involved shootings where they stay in the fight because they don't even know that they're shot, and they find out afterwards. They're like, "Oh, shit, I'm bleeding. Like, I didn't even know I got shot." They don't even feel it.
Tim did a great job. He put up the demographics of Allen, Texas. If you want to,
Oh.
I don't know if you can highlight that right there.
Thank you.
So it appears to be Allen, Texas demographics: 57.41% white, 19.03% Asian. So pretty Asian area. 11.48% black, and it must be close to like a base or something probably. 9.1% would be black, and then two or more races at 2.5% or other, and 0.47% Native American or
Yeah,
Hawaiian Pacific Islander.
It seems like he didn't, as far as the people who actually died, because we don't have the names of the people who were just injured, but as far as the people that died, it doesn't seem just from their names that any of them were white. Christian LaCure may have been, but that's the only one,
It's very interesting. It's like that moment. On top of that, you don't want to rush into it not only do you don't want to rush into it not knowing what you have without the backup, because God forbid he is on his last couple rounds and takes you out. Now he's got a brand new magazine and a brand new weapon system, you know what I mean? Plus a radio or a taser, or who knows what else. So yeah, I mean, you could Monday morning quarterback this till the cows come home, and I think the guy's doing a fine job. But this should demonstrate to the average person, you don't know the conditioning you have until you stress yourself in that situation. And I think it's often important for our law enforcement, i.e. first responders, to be in as prime of a physical condition as possible.
Oh, for sure. Another thing that this officer did well, and I don't know if we've gotten to that part yet or not, but there's a civilian. It's Texas. There's an armed civilian also trying to take shots, and he comes across another person with a gun and makes that second decision, figures out who's a friend and who's a foe, and doesn't shoot that guy and goes on to get the correct guy. So
right, it's kind of funny because I just had this conversation recently in a Constitution carry state or an open carry state. And with the mall aspect of it, I mean, do you know how fast it could turn into a circular firing squad? I mean, it's just, I mean, you got to be trained, you got to have situational awareness, and it's one of those situations where you take it out and you use it, you take it out and you use it, and you holster it when you're not using it. Otherwise, you might find yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, in that situation, you can only imagine how hairy that would be, where everyone's like, is he the shooter? Is he the shooter? Is he the shooter?
Exactly. Well, we have it paused. I want to address this super chat. Thank you so much for the $50 super chat, Waffle Salter. Starting us off strong with the super chats. I appreciate it. I'm going to give them the big treats for $50.
A whole turkey. Nice. Well, nowadays that'd be $50, wouldn't it?
Yeah, really. I appreciate that. I didn't want to pause the video just for that. I hope you understand, Waffle Salter. But since we had it paused, I might as well.
Hey, it looks like Resla's in the chat. I don't know. Hopefully he's in your chat. But go over to Katie Z. Good to see you, Resla. Go over to Katie Z's channel. I'm getting a little confused with this one. Must be my channel. Okay. Go over to it's pinned up top. Go over, give her a like, give her a share, or a subscribe, or alert and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Tell her GS sent you.
I do appreciate the people that come back and watch every week. It makes me want to keep doing it. If nobody was here watching after, obviously when you first start, nobody's watching, but after a while, if nobody's watching, then it's like, what am I doing with my life? So I appreciate the people who are here every week and support me.
It's like the market speaks, right?
Exactly.
The open market of free ideas has spoken and told you what you're doing is not working.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, let's watch the last 3 minutes of this.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody's pointing towards Jackson.
I'm by Tommy Hilfiger. I don't know where he's at. Dr. Scott. Actually still going.
Well, this is traffic, dispatch.
He charged his weapon yet? He just took it off the tape.
Shots fired by police. I got him down. Drop the gun!
He's got about 11 rounds left. That's a 30 rounder.
Hey, get off the air! I'm over here by Lids. I got him down. Get away from here! Get away from here! Get away! I'm by Sunflower's hut. I'm moving up on him. Who's just behind me? Watch your fire. Watch your fire! I got him down! I think so! I'm not hearing any gunshots! Is he down? God damn, bro! Got him, bro!
We got one.
Now stay your down! Stay your down! You got him?
He did indeed get him,
Good.
which was great. So following that, the next day, or even that day, I believe, several news outlets decided to, the police did a press conference like they do, and they said the name of the shooter. And news outlets looked up the name of the shooter, and they found a guy whose name was Mauricio Garcia, and they published his picture because he had on file a mugshot picture that was out there. So Steven Crowder was one of those news outlets. Fox News did it, Newsmax, Hollywood Unlocked, Televista, Univision, Today News Africa, Tim Pool, InfoWars, also Steven Crowder, all put this picture of the wrong dude out. And if you look at the thumbnail from today, I have both dudes, that were both named Mauricio. One dude is the correct dude, one dude is the wrong dude. They don't look very dissimilar, but they are two different human beings, which sucks. So that's where we get to the crux of today's show, which is this deposition that recently dropped that I wanted to go through, and GS also said he was interested. So, and you haven't watched this yet.
I've not actually. When you mentioned Steven Crowder in a deposition, I was kind of ashamedly, I have to admit, I thought maybe it was the deposition of his divorce, because I think there's some juicy stuff in that.
I'm sure there is. I haven't watched that one. I'm not as interested in divorce stuff as I am mass shooter stuff on my channel, but I think it's interesting. Well, let's watch some of it and we'll pause it and we'll talk. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to play it a little. It's an hour and 46 minutes long. It's 35 o'clock. So I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. If it's too fast, let me know in the chat. Okay.
Well, I will let you know that I'm not in a rush. So you have me for as long as you need me. I think if I can do I think I did a 13 or a 14 hour.
I know you did. I was in some of it. I woke up the next morning and you were still live, and I'm like, I just slept for like 7 hours. What are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing I'm working harder than Tim Pool.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, today's date is August 26th, 2024. The time is 1:31 p.m. Central Time, and we are on the record.
Mr. Crowder, if you'll raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, sir, can you give us your name for the record?
Steven Crowder?
You are the founder of Louder with Crowder, LLC?
Yes.
Okay. Louder with Crowder, LLC is your media company?
Yes.
You operate a website and make internet videos?
Objection form.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out that's what your media company does.
That's part of it.
What else do you do that you would say that your media company does?
Well, it's a general media company. So, yep, there's a daily program. There's a separate, reporting and investigative reporting unit, and the website operates separately where someone writes articles. So social media, kind of all encompassing media.
Okay, so I've got internet, there's a daily show. Let's start there. All right, that's a video show, correct?
By the way, I don't like Steven Crowder's smugness during this, and I certainly don't like the lawyer during this. So this is a video where I kind of hate everybody involved, in case you're wondering where I stand on it.
Yeah, so I found it interesting where I thought it was wise that when they ask you a question, you don't elaborate unless they try to ask you to elaborate.
Mhm.
And frankly, that was a pretty open-ended question that he asked about, well, what we do parodies, we do skits, we do
Mhm.
news, we do politics, we do sarcasm or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really open-ended question. And the more you talk, and he's got the gift for gab, mind you, but I thought it was very smart of him, to what you might consider to be smugness, what I would tend to agree with him,
Oh, no, he gets more smug.
is probably intelligence, because to give them as little information, it's kind of like one of those, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, not to exonerate you, but against you, right? So I don't know, man. It's one of those situations where I'm not a big Steven Crowder fan. I'll just put it that way. He's for a lot of reasons. Well, I'll keep my bias in my pocket.
I probably have the same bias. You'll also notice that his lawyer is in the room objecting to almost every question. That is normal during a deposition. Basically, what she's doing is getting it on the record that there was an objection, although there's no judge there to rule on the objection. She's just getting it on the record, so at a later date, they can go through and pick through the questions and get stuff thrown out. So she's doing her job. She sounds annoying, but she's really just doing her job.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yes, sir.
And I know that it's also, you can get it in pure audio format too over podcast, right?
Yes.
Okay. As far as those videos, where would I see an episode of Louder with Crowder?
So, well, it depends, what point in time. So usually YouTube, Rumble, and then Mug Club, which is, it's operated under locals. But for a period of time, it would have been, and pardon me, I'm sick today, so if I cough, I don't mean to be distracting. Would have been under Blaze. So Mug Club was operating under Blaze at one point. You would have been able to see them on Blaze.
Okay,
And
these are
audio wherever audio is, available, like Apple, Spotify.
In other words, to see your show, I would watch it on the internet.
Yes.
You're not carried on any cable stations?
No.
You're not carried on over-the-air broadcast television?
Not today, no.
Okay. Do you have any licenses with radio stations, anything like that, to broadcast your show?
Not today, no.
Okay. Are all those answers same truth in May 2023?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you do anything to prepare for this deposition?
No, I watched. I had read the files that were sent over from your attorneys. Well, yourself, I guess.
The files. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
The documents, the complaints.
Okay. In other words, the lawsuit that was filed.
Yes.
Okay. Have you reviewed any other documents to prepare for this deposition?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Have you viewed your May 8th or May 9th show?
I viewed at least a portion of it. Yes.
Okay. And I'm mostly going to want to be talking to you about your May 8th show covering the Allen.
Dang it, I was muted. It happens at least once a show. Weapons came in and asked what's going on. Just a quick recap for people who got here late, Weapons. This is Steven Crowder. He's being deposed because he showed the picture of the wrong person when he was covering the Allen, Texas shooting in 2023. That's what's going on here. And because the rules are the rules, the dogs get another treat because I talked with my mic muted. I don't make the rules. I just work here. That's what happens. There you go. I'm trying to train myself not to do that. That's what that is. Did you have anything to add while we have it paused?
No, it's well, hi Luna, what's up? Good to see you. I hope again, if you're new to my channel over there, if you just dropped in, do me a favor at the very least. Click on the pinned link on my channel. Come out, it should bring you over to Katie Zed's channel. Hit that like button, leave a comment, yap some more, tell someone hello, maybe sub. I think she's got really good content. Hit that notification bell and watch where you want to watch, but I would prefer that we kind of bring as many people over to Katie Zed's channel as possible. And I thank you very much for those that have tuned in. And she does Sunday nights, some crime stuff.
Yep.
And I know the ladies, they really like their murder crime stuff.
I just put your link in the chat as well, so you guys who are watching on my channel, feel free to go over the GS's channel and subscribe over there too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shooting, you're familiar with what I mean when I say your May 8th show covering the Allen shooting?
Yes.
Okay. Before I get into all that, I want to confirm some details on your background. As far as educational background, it's my understanding you attended a couple semesters of college?
Correct.
Okay. I think it's fair to say you have no educational background in journalism?
No, I wouldn't agree.
Okay. Can you explain to me what your educational background in journalism is?
Years of experience?
Well, I'm asking specifically, we'll move on to your work experience. I'm talking about your education at this point, if you have any educational background in journalism.
Well, I did study media for, as you said, 2.
Yeah, so this is what irritates me. Journalism? We're all citizen journalists.
Yeah.
And I know you might hate me saying that, but that is a fact. I got a camera, I got a microphone, I got a pen, I got a paper, I got eyes, I've got a brain that allows me to remember, I got ears to hear.
Mm-hmm.
We're all journalists. And this whole like the hoity-toity kind of like you have to be from this pedigree. Oh, you're not Harvard. Oh, you're Yale. I mean, go F yourself. I mean, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's with this gatekeeping nonsense, you know?
Yeah. Well, and Steven Crowder has gone out and done like on the street reporting and stuff as well. As I think both of us have done that too. But he has a bigger audience than some cable news networks. So
Yeah.
who cares what school he went to? He does what he does and people like it.
So, and to the point of why he might be kind of catching a little bit of a, you know, a smug attitude at this point, because I don't think he's been too smug. I think he's been very curt, very direct, very precise with his words, and only elaborated when he's basically being forced to elaborate. But I mean, when you start going, well, what's your experience? Like, well, dude, what's your experience to be a lawyer? Oh, I have experience and I went to school. Okay, well, I've got experience on OJT. And
Yep.
frankly, you know, I mean, there are certain people that kind of get OJT training to do their job, and then you got some schmuck that comes in right out of the street, right out of the school, and that person that's been working that job for 10 years, OJT, ends up having to train the one that's got the piece of paper that comes in with more money.
Happens
Like-
all the time.
And I'm like, whoa, this is backwards. I mean, I
Yeah.
have personal experiences with that with people in my lifetime where you don't have that piece of paper, but you're training the person that does, and they get paid more than you, and you've been there for 10 years because they have a piece of paper, but they still can't do the job because they
Yeah.
lack the experience. So it's an interesting circle.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have to
Semesters.
ban Waffle Salter. He just said that Miracle Whip stinks, and I
What?
just don't like that
How
kind of talk in
dare
my
you.
chat.
How
What
dare
are you doing?
Wait, is he a mayo? Is he a basic B mayo user?
Okay. So when you were in college for those semesters, part of that included journalism course.
Part included, yes.
Sorry, let me
yes.
mute my mic. My
Okay.
German Shepherd's barking.
You worked for Fox back in the 2009-2013 time period.
I believe so. That time period sounds correct.
Did they provide you any training in journalism?
Experience.
I understand that you did the job for many years. I'm sure you picked up some things, right? But what I'm wondering actually is, as part of your employment, did Fox provide you with formal training in journalism?
They did not send me to journalism school, no.
Okay. Now at that time, I think it's fair to say that your what you were doing for Fox was primarily concentrated on more comedic type presentations. Is that fair?
No.
So back during the time period when you were working at Fox, would you say you were covering hard news at that point too?
Objection form.
Sometimes.
Okay. And then after leaving Fox, let's start this way. The YouTube channel you had that walk.
Yes. Are you muted now?
Sorry, you do understand what this other lawyer is trying to do, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, what do you think?
Trying to discredit him. He's trying to say he's a clown. He's a joke.
Yeah, make me a balloon animal, funny guy.
Yep.
You know, it's like so it's interesting. And so yeah, I guess I would kind of start feeling a certain way when you're basically telling me that I'm just some comedian. I should have shut my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't have any credentials. And well, I mean, the proof is in the tasting of the pudding. He did make a mistake along with a bunch of other news organizations, but the fact that other quote unquote ratified, codified, if you want to call it that, according to what this guy's looking for, is when it comes to credentials, also made the same mistake.
Yeah.
Well, what's your point here, Chief? You know, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, I think my dislike of Steven Crowder comes through when I'm watching this. So I apologize for my bias, but we all have bias, and mine is to not really like Steven Crowder that much. Sorry.
Right. I'm just trying to provide a little color commentary to say, yeah, given certain factors, I can kind of see the machinations and the maneuvering in order to better improve a case or a claim against Steven Crowder, or anyone for that matter. You must first try to tear him down in order to build up your case, which is kind of a crappy, underhanded, dirty way to do things.
Which I can see how the mistake was made. The guy had the same name, was in the same town. It doesn't seem like it's that common. Mauricio is not a name that I know anybody named that. Like, it's not a common name. You know, his last name might be common, but I don't know. I can just see how the mistake was made. That's all.
Fox, right?
Correct.
And you've kept using that as a platform ever since leaving Fox, right?
Yes.
Am I right that there was a brief period where you weren't on YouTube? Is that right?
Objection form.
How so?
Or am I right that at some point you either stopped posting to YouTube or were in some way punished by YouTube? Did anything like that happen?
Objection form.
Well, there are temporary suspensions that happen on YouTube, if that's what you mean.
Okay, but in May 2023, you were posting regularly on YouTube?
I believe so.
Okay. So, for instance, the coverage we're here to talk about today, that would have appeared on YouTube?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, ever since leaving Fox, say the past 10 years, fair to say that you've begun to amass a rather sizable audience?
Yes.
Okay. You understand that as the size of your audience increased, the magnitude of potential harm that could be caused by publishing a false statement about someone also increased?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that as that potential magnitude for harm increased and your audience increased, your responsibility as a journalist also increased?
Objection form.
Well, I've never labeled myself a journalist, but yes.
I mean, well, you cover hard news. We can agree with that.
Sure. So does Jon Stewart.
Sure, absolutely. Right. And let's make it clear, even today on your show in which you cover hard news, you also do things that are comedic.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me, for instance, that the sort of care that a person like you needs to show might be different if you're just, say, talking with a friend at a bar versus making an announcement over a baseball stadium public address system. You understand what I mean?
I understand.
Okay. And so when making decisions about how you run your business, I take it one of the things you do consider is the responsibility you have given the size of your audience. Is that right?
Well, but take responsibility regardless of the size of the audience.
Sure, I understand that perhaps even when just talking to a neighbor or a friend at a bar, you might be careful about what you say. But what I'm asking is, when you do your job, part of what you consider in how you create your policies, your requirements, etc., is you understand you're going to be talking to a very large audience and that the magnitude of harm from false information could be very great. Is that correct?
There's a lot in that statement. We take care to be as responsible as possible, regardless of the size of the audience.
Okay. Last year, when doing an episode of Louder of Crowder, how many people could you reasonably expect to view it?
I don't know. So
does for instance, on YouTube, YouTube tracks the number of views your videos get, right?
So, to a degree, yes.
Okay. Rumble does the same thing. You can see how many people viewed your videos?
To a degree, yes.
Okay. And so that should give you, the number of views on Rumble and YouTube will at least give you a minimum baseline of who saw the video. Is that right?
Sounds right.
And then you also know that your materials will quite foreseeably spread via social media, right?
Sure.
You're aware people share your videos?
Sure, yes.
For instance, when getting a video in this case, when I asked for a copy of the video in this case, I was directed to a website that publishes your videos without any of your input, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay. One of the things you offer your audience is fact checking of the news, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In fact, let's bring up tab 1. All right, I want to show you something that was just posted to the website last week. And as I think you may remember, we had this deposition scheduled for a few days ago. But one of the reasons that we had rescheduled it is so that you could do fact checking at the DNC, correct?
Yes, portion of it, yes.
Okay. So for instance, in this broadcast, you'd be telling your audience, hey, certain claims are going to be made at the DNC, and we are going to use our skills to tell you what is real and what is not. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So your audience can expect that you're going to be talking to them about matters of truth or falsity, right?
Yes.
Do you agree it's reasonable for your audience to expect you to use the same level of care that they would expect from any commercial media outlet?
Objection form.
This lawyer is acting like he makes mistakes all the time. All the time. That he just puts out stuff willy-nilly. And, like, I understand that there was a mistake made, but the way this lawyer is walking down this road right now makes it sound like whatever he was fact checking at the DNC was incorrect, which I don't think it was. Like, I don't really watch Crowder, but I don't think it was. I think he puts out the facts as he, like, that he thinks are true. Like, I don't think he's doing it on purpose is what I'm saying, I guess. I think he made a mistake.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, there are some topics that I love to cover, and I think it's important to cover, but I have to be very careful about saying something or putting something out as established as acceptable or fact.
Mhm.
Where I'll try to always preface, it seems to me, or in my opinion, or my speculation is X or Y or Z, right? So the interesting thing is that I don't even know if that really does cover you in certain situations, especially if you're a really big outlet and your reach is, and I think that's what he's trying to establish. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, you got a big reach. You got a bigger reach. Sorry, my dog's barking. I don't know if you heard that. You got a bigger reach than, say, these cable news outlets that we think you should be credentialed like.
Yep.
So wait, if you're saying my reach is even bigger than these credentialed outlets, then how am I not, that means I'm doing something better or more correct than they are to get that audience.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that it's kind of like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's accrediting
as lawyers commonly do.
Right. I mean, he's accrediting credit where it can make him look guilty, but he's discrediting credit where it makes him look unqualified to even present certain data.
And by the way, saying allegedly does cover you, which is why mainstream media outlets, when somebody is arrested for a crime and not yet, or charged with a crime and not yet convicted of it, they use the word allegedly all the time to cover themselves. So yes, that does cover you.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is it's not going to be your position that, hey, I'm just a clown. I'm just a guy who plays dress up. I'm not doing news. That's not what your position is. You do hard news. Correct?
Look, it depends on the context.
Absolutely. Sure. Like we said, there are some instances where your audience is clearly going to know that you're doing a comedic sketch, right?
Sure.
But your May 8th coverage of the Allen shooting, that wasn't a comedy sketch.
I don't know if it included sketch elements. We often mix news with sketch elements, but no, not the commentary on the reporting, no.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how things work at your business. First of all, you're the boss at Louder with Crowder, right?
Objection form.
I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing what I'm asking is, if you're doing things throughout your workday, is there somebody who can come to you and says, Stephen, no, you can't cover that. You're not allowed to do that.
Yes.
Okay, who would that person be?
We're going to be a multitude of people.
So there are a multitude of people at Louder with Crowder who have veto power over what you can cover on your show.
Not a multitude of people who have, wise counsel.
Sure, I have a lot of people in my life who have wise counsel. I listen to them and take their thoughts into consideration, but they don't have control over me. And I'm wondering if there's anybody at Louder with Crowder who has control over you, who says, if you do this, Stephen, you're fired. You don't work here anymore.
At Louder with Crowder? No one can fire me.
Okay. And if you want to say something on your show, is there anybody who can stop you?
On my show? No.
Okay. You would agree that it would be the usual practice of Louder with Crowder. Let me put it in an easier way. You agree it's your usual practice to verify the accuracy of images you share with your audience.
Objection form.
Can you repeat the question? It was telling me.
Sure. It's if you're going to share images with your audience of news events, right? Things that depict news events, it's your usual practice to verify the accuracy of those images before you show them.
Objection form.
Sometimes.
Okay. Let's make it more specific. When you're going to share an image of a purported mass murder, it would be your usual practice to verify the accuracy of that image before showing it.
Objection form. And to clarify, Mark, just so for reference, are you referring to Stephen individually or Louder with Crowder as a whole?
Him individually.
Okay. Go ahead.
Me individually? Then no.
No. So there are, in other words, let's put it this way. If you're going to use on May 8th an image, you're going to show your audience an image of who is purportedly the mass murderer. Is that something you're going to see before you go air? Or is this like a Ron Burgundy situation where you're seeing it for the first time?
Appreciate the reference to Ron Burgundy. Based on Jim Walcott, actually, Canadian sitcom. There's a difference between breaking news, for example, something exclusive to us, where there's obviously very strict, much more strict process of due diligence if we are the news. Then there's reporting on the news that is available publicly, or reporting on someone else's report. So to answer your question, we would obviously ensure that the reporting on that person's reporting is accurate, meaning the original source would be the reporter.
Okay. So in terms of sharing an image, right? I believe what I'm hearing is that if it is your original reporting, you would have a higher level of care than when you are repeating someone else's reporting. Is that fair?
No, what I'm saying is that there's a difference between breaking news, being the subject of news, and reporting on someone else's news. So use your example like the DNC. That's their story. They run images or claims. So we report on what they are running.
All right, let me give you an example. If the DNC puts up an image, right, and says, here is, let me give you an example. Says the DNC puts up an image of Mount Rushmore and says, this is the Washington Monument, right? You would be able to fairly and accurately report the DNC is saying that this picture is the Washington Monument. That's fine. Right? We're on the same page so far?
Yes, and I would show their picture.
All right. It would be different to say, here is a picture that the DNC is showing that they say is Mount Rushmore. And I'm telling you they're right. That's different in your mind, right?
No.
That's the same thing.
What I find interesting about this part is we'll get to it a little bit later in this deposition, but they're going to play the segment where he shows the picture and he says that this is what, I forget which one of those other news outlets that I mentioned earlier, this is what they're showing. This is where we got this picture from. And he actually says that on his show. So he's reporting on what somebody else was reporting, yet he's still getting sued. And this lawyer is going after him like he's racist and thinks that all Mexicans look the same or something. I'm not sure. But
so as an addition to that query or that statement, was that particular outlet that he was getting his news from, were they also named?
Yes, they were also named in the lawsuit.
So at least there wasn't a case of this guy's small, he might not have the legal team or the resources or the money to fight this and might settle out of court for a quick buck, versus this is a giant organization with a whole team of lawyers that is going to fight this. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, at least
Today News Africa is the source that he cited when sharing that picture. And they are named in the lawsuit.
Is that like a big site, or is that, it sounds like a shell company to me?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I've never heard of them.
No, before. I mean, that's actually pretty, if you don't mind, let's explore that for a quick second, because this is how they can have their second source and then have the plausible deniability of, like, we didn't just make this up whole cloth. Here's this shell company that puts this information out that if it gets sued, it can easily go bankrupt, and they can just put a whole nother shell company out there to put that news out there. I mean, this could be a common practice for CNN, New York Times, Wall Street, all these different newspapers. They might have these weird kind of niche news groups, quotation marks, that are shell companies that, well, I got my news from here, so go sue them over there. And it's just some LLC with $500 in the bank account.
Well, I'm trying to go to the Today News Africa website right now, and my computer's telling me it's not safe. Go back to safety. So I'm not sure about Today News Africa. I'm not clicking the button.
Well, that's my point, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem like, well, that seems a little sus right there. Thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
I mean, it does. Like, when I heard that, I thought it was, like, just because of the name of it, for not that I've heard of it before, but it seemed to me like it was maybe some South African, like, Good Morning America, but for South Africa or something like that,
So it was, what was the name of the thing again? I'm not going to go to the site, but I'm going to ask where it's located out of. Maybe I can get some, not without having to go to the site. What was it called again?
Today News Africa.
Okay. All right. I'll take a little peek, see what I can come up with while we're continuing to watch, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So you can report, in other words, this is what I'm trying to get at, is it is okay for you, without investigating, to report someone else's accusation as truthful.
To report their reporting as authentic and truthful. Yes. If I believed it was Mount Rushmore and they told me it was Mount Rushmore and showed a picture, I'd show their picture.
And do it without any further checking.
Myself, at that moment in time, if I believed it was Mount Rushmore, why would I not believe the DNC?
It's a good question. DNC is an organization you might not always believe, though, right?
That's fair.
Right? They have, in your eyes, they have some credibility issues, I would take it, right?
It depends on who they are.
So in other words, what I'm saying is not all sources are equal, are they?
That's fair.
Okay. Would you agree that it's important?
Dove did a little research for us. Simon Atba is a Cameroonian journalist. He is the owner and sole employee of the website Today News Africa, for which he was a White House correspondent. So he was accredited by the White House in 2023, which is Biden's White House. So I don't know what that says, but something, I'm sure.
Good job, Dove.
To verify the accuracy of an image of a purported mass murderer before showing it to your audience?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it important to verify the image of a mass murderer before showing it to your audience?
Well, the same reason that it would be important to verify anything.
Why is that?
If you are making a definitive claim, you should do your best to be accurate.
Why?
Because truth matters.
Just intrinsically, or why? Did things happen? What can happen?
Intrinsically.
Okay. So do you understand, though, that if false information is posted about somebody, is published about somebody, that can have effects on the people who are the subject matter of those reports?
I would assume so.
Is that something that you can, let's put it this way. If you have news that you're going to report.
This whole thing is just bringing into my head, imagine calling somebody a murderer online for years. And then it turns out that they're not. Like, just imagine if somebody were to do that, what would happen? But I digress.
Well, no, let's not digress. Let's kind of explore that a little bit. That's really interesting. Maybe
this guy just showed a picture of a wrong person. By the way, had the same name and was within the same age range from the same city. Just the wrong person. And he's getting sued for I don't know how millions of dollars, probably. I don't know.
I mean, let's unpack that for a second as a kind of buyer beware, caveat emptor, right?
No, please thrown out. None of that. None of the, in my opinions, none of that is being thrown around at all.
No, he's just a murder burglar. That's what they're claiming.
What are we doing? Let's wait till we adjudicate the case first. How about that?
But hold on. You're a fan, obviously. You're carrying his water. You have godchildren named after this man. You were the third shooter on the grassy knoll, and you were the guy the lady holding the camera when the lunar modular landed on the moon.
True.
And
true.
No, I'm not going to spill the beans on that one. You need to be a woman of mystery. Can't reveal everything. It's just ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
It's like the copium is just so strong with these people that, and if you think about how much money these people have made, how they've enriched themselves off of this drama, these slanders, these libels, these images, right? These AI manipulations.
Well, I mean, I've looked at their channels. They're not exactly enriching themselves. Let's be clear.
Well, if you make a dime off of maligning someone else's character,
True.
that's gain. And if that character, that's the person whose character is being maligned, can show potential harm from that.
True.
You know, you got to be careful. I mean, that's standing, but I don't know. I just think that people need to stop acting like idiots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just you know, dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yep.
That if false could have a damaging effect on someone's reputation or cause them grief, you would agree you need to take special care with that kind of news.
If one is making a definitive claim, they should do their best to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice, Steve.
Do you know the difference between a primary and a secondary source?
Yes.
Okay, can you help us understand that first by telling us what is a primary source?
Objection form.
But it would depend on the context when you're discussing journalism, or if you're discussing, like I said, commenting on someone else's journalism. Primary source would be the primary reference point, person who's the originator of it, and a secondary source would be a corroborating resource, confirming or also covering it.
Okay. I'm going to kind of give you what I believe would be the understanding that I'm operating from, just so we can talk using the same terminology, right? Like if I was going to tell you, if I'm going to talk about a chair, I'm going to tell you what a chair is, right? Have you ever heard that a primary source would be information that originates from a person or entity that is either has a firsthand account or is actively involved in the events being reported?
Yes.
Okay. And then a newspaper, for instance, or a academic treatise or some other publication that is writing about an event that it did not have firsthand involvement in, that'd be a secondary source. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of, let me do it this way. You would agree
Eddie?
you should not display.
Yes.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Sure.
This guy works for like a multi-million-dollar podcast, yet he can't put earbuds in.
I guess. I guess.
I mean,
you would think he'd do it from his studio and have better quality. Like,
but I'm sitting here and I'm going, it's got to be purposeful, right? He's got to purposefully be creating this distortion and this annoying feedback. Or am I just that Darren guy that just like, I mean, every time I get on someone's, hey, that guy's got a lot of feedback. Maybe he can mute his mic, or even on other people's show, I'm like, that's annoying as hell.
I'm the same way, and I just, maybe I'm an audiophile where like when there's bad sound, it just is so distracting to me. When there's so I'm the same way.
He can't be oblivious. He's kind of low key like F
He
you,
knows.
right? He's got to be like F you.
You've listened to his show before. It's pristine audio.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
mixed. It's
And he
it's
gets
good.
irritated when it isn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I'm picking up on that too. All right, perfect.
And if I ever have bad audio on my show, I hope somebody would let me know so I can fix it on air. Because I did have a whole lesson, like a 3-hour lesson in audio mixing just to do this. So
Awesome.
and you can kind of tell when it happened because my shows went from sounding horrible to sounding really good really quick.
I call it YouTube University.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I got that lesson from another YouTuber, and he knows what he's doing. I have my own audio engineer in my back pocket I can call anytime.
Absolutely.
The image of a suspected mass murderer, unless the image had been confirmed by someone involved in the official investigation or by reference to some kind of primary source. Would you agree with that?
No.
Okay. And would you agree that you don't fulfill your responsibility in verifying the photo of a mass murderer by assuming that another news organization has verified the photo?
No.
Okay.
I don't agree.
What are your requirements for publishing a photo allegedly showing a mass murder?
Objection form.
So the process would be similar for any stories in which we're not the primary source, to use your example, would be to find at least one source that would be viewed as legitimate. So usually that's why, when we provide references, we often use left-leaning sources, which we make available every day for every show, and then confirm it with another source where it is available. That would be the process when it's someone else's reporting.
Does it matter who's reporting it?
That's why I said you try and find the initial, the most credible source to use as a primary source, because it's a little different when covering news. So to give you an example, if there is a new study conducted on, let's say, medical COVID intervention. Primary source would be one on PubMed, right? The people who conducted the trial. Secondary source would be CNN covering said clinical trial. So same principle, but it's a little different when covering someone else's reporting. So the primary source that we look for would be as authoritative as available at that time.
All right, so to use that example, if you didn't have access to the PubMed article, but you did have access to a CNN report in which they reported on the PubMed article and cited that PubMed article, that's probably okay to report on. You would agree?
I would report according to CNN.
Right. What if CNN didn't have any sort of primary source? What if CNN just reported a fact, but it didn't have any source?
That's why I would report according to CNN.
Okay. And it would be important for you to make clear that you had not been able to verify that. Would you agree to that?
So question. So that's interesting. So he's basically trying to say, what is your primary source? And he's like, well, I'll pick a left-leaning source. Which is interesting because even if it's not an approved or respected left-leaning source, it's almost kind of crapping on left-leaning sources.
It is
wrong. It's
it
like,
is.
you know, oh, that was a left-leaning source. Oh, this was a DEI person that was allowed to be in a press conference that was wholly undeserving because they were wholly unqualified. That's who I got my source from. You mean the guy you let into the press corps?
Yep.
For the White House? And
Exactly.
now you're telling me he's unqualified? Well,
Yeah,
you
why-
should have thought about that before you did the DEI stuff, right?
Yep.
Oh, because you want diversity, not efficiency or meritocracy.
Mhm.
You know, it's interesting, right? So that's like some 5D chess stuff right there. But you know, and then he's like, well, you got it from a source, but who did that source get it from? Well, I got it from a secondary source,
See,
not my source. But now I have to police CNN now too.
these are the types of things that I notice. The chess game that's going on in this two-person conversation that we're watching right now.
Mhm.
There's a definite chess game going on, which I picked up on when I first watched it, which is why I changed what I was going to do today for this
Right.
show to do this, because I thought it was so interesting to see the back and forth.
I was worried that I was going to get annoying with how intricately
No.
nerdy I was getting with this and seeing the machinations and the movements. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Not the only one.
I did not pick up on I did pick up on the bad audio, but I didn't pick up on the fact that Steven Crowder should know how to give good audio. Like, he could have a laptop with a $20 mic plugged into it, and it would be better audio than it is right now.
Well, not
And
only would it be better audio, but he's getting feedback from the voice. Like he's not using earbuds or headsets.
he put himself in a room that is obviously
Echo.
brick walls. There's
Yep.
no
Yep.
Like, he could have chose a different room and the audio would have been better.
Mhm.
He could have laid some pillows out on the floor around him. The audio would have been better. There's many things that could have been done that were, now that you mention it, specifically probably not done purposefully.
No.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about this incident we're here about today. You understand that on May 6, 2023, a neo-Nazi mass shooter murdered several people at the Allen Outlet Malls.
Objection form.
No.
You don't understand that right now, sitting here today?
The way you said it, no.
Help me understand what you mean by that. What is it about that
I don't understand a neo-Nazi mass shooter. No. Mass shooter, yes. No. Neo-Nazi mass shooter, no.
Okay, you're aware that the shooter had tattooed neo-Nazi symbols on his body.
Sure.
You're aware he did it with a right-wing Death Squad vest. Right, you don't contest any of that.
I'm aware that was reported, yeah.
So,
All right, well, I'm not asking you
I'm
whether.
so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. Now
I have all night.
This is what irritates me, Katie. This is what, and I've said that, I don't know if you've seen my, let me tell you about my Fed friend, you know, my little thing with Glow State.
Yep.
Where he's like showing Flow State walks up and he sees his Fed friend with a BLM hat.
Mhm.
And then he looks over at Glow State, goes, oh, it switches out BLM for a MAGA hat.
Yep.
That's exactly what this is. Just because he had the trappings of a certain ideology doesn't mean he actually held that ideology. It was on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose to set up a particular ideology, to malign said ideology. And I don't know if you've heard a lot of the leaked documents that have been coming out, DVEs, domestic violent extremists. Oh, do you have a Betsy Ross flag? Oh, do you have a Gadsden flag? Oh, do you have Punisher iconography? Oh, do you love your country? Do you believe that your nation's flag should be the one that's raised higher than all the other flags that these immigrants are bringing in? Oh, you're a
According to the
DVE.
laws of the United States, yes, the American flag should be higher.
Yeah, but you know
But
what?
that makes you a terrorist now,
You
apparently.
can burn an American flag, but don't you dare burn a trans flag.
Yeah.
That's a hate crime.
Yep.
But what about my love for my nation when you burn my flag? It's not a hateful thing towards. I mean, that it pains me to see somebody. It pains me to see an American flag even touch the ground.
I understand it, but I also understand that it is a protected right to burn that flag. And I love that it is.
But that flag.
Yeah.
Well, I just pointed out to you. Well, I
Yep.
guess the distinction is if I bought one and then burnt it, that would be my property, just like the flag that I'm burning is my property. But if I
Yeah.
were to steal, but how many times did we see during the Summer of Love them stealing people's MAGA
All
hats,
the time.
stealing, ripping their flags out and burning
Mhm.
them? I didn't see anyone go to jail for that.
Repeatedly that happened. Yeah.
But do you remember the one that was there was like a trans or whatever or a BLM flag or something like that was on the side of a church and they tore it off the church, and then some Proud Boys burn it, and there was a big witch hunt for them. It was
I
no, it
do.
might have
I
been a gay
vaguely
pride.
remember. Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I think it was a gay pride flag. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what it was, their argument for it was, well, it was somebody else's property. They trespassed onto that property to take it and then put it in the street and burn it. So therefore, it was a crime.
So
But
life
then
in prison.
yeah, well, but beyond that, I saw
Yeah.
that all over the news for like
Yeah.
almost an entire year and a half. It seemed like,
So
I
I
s-
remember when Trump was running the first time, the
Mhm.
Trump signs getting torn out and burned and stuff from people's yards. We
Yeah.
saw a lot of that.
I've seen. You see the one where the guy electrified it.
Yeah.
But it's like do you remember the girl that had the red and white hat? It said "Make Bitcoin Great Again." She got pepper
Yeah.
sprayed in the face. I
Yep.
mean, these psychopaths just see a certain color and they go, you know what I
That's
mean? It's
called
like
Trump derangement syndrome.
right. So which brings me to J6.
Yep.
Just because they're wearing a MAGA hat, don't make them American lovers.
No.
I mean, they're wearing the trappings of what they perceive to be their enemy in order to do crimes to make their enemy's organization look evil.
And there was a video. There was like cell phone video of somebody like hiding in the bushes before that happened and putting on the
Yep.
MAGA stuff and then going to the Capitol. There's video evidence of that happening.
They
I'm not saying it was all of the people.
yeah.
I'm just saying it was not 0% of the people.
They bust in like 2 or 3 bus loads of people
Hmm.
right before that whole thing kicked off when most of the people were still listening to the president give the speech.
Yep.
There was already conflict happening. Anyway, that's for another day. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's the trappings and the uniform and like he's saying, well, just because the guy wore tattoos
Yep.
doesn't mean he believed in the ideology. Maybe it was just subtext, pretext, context.
Yeah. Speaking of January 6th, my friend who was at January 6th, who just got pardoned, by the way, big celebration. He will be here at my home next Sunday at 4:30. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but he will be on my show next Sunday. So anybody who's interested in that sort of stuff too, like I said, I don't know what we'll be talking about, but come back next Sunday at 4:30.
And also do pass on the message. I would indeed like to interview him at some point in time at his convenience.
All right, awesome.
So, all right. And I'm going to step away, let my dogs out, but I'm going to
Yeah.
have this on my phone and I will be listening.
All right.
I have no idea what happens when I turn my camera off. Let me try to put like I don't even know how I could set something up. So, well, let me try to set something up before I leave. Thank you. Play
There you-
beautiful bean footage.
It was reported. I'm asking you whether you can, do you believe that's true? Do you contest that?
No, I don't contest any of the tattoos. No.
Okay. So I guess the hang up is you have a shooter who's tattooed up with a swastika and SS lightning bolts, but you're hesitant to call that a neo-Nazi mass shooting.
Correct.
Okay. You covered that shooting on your show and your website?
Objection 4.
I discussed it on the show.
Okay. And there was an article on the website, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And you agree that in covering the shooting, that an image was repeatedly published of my client, Mauricio Garcia, who had nothing to do with the shooting.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Let's talk about the show, the May 8th show. In that show, you told the audience that the media was lying about the shooting and that you were going to show them the true information, right?
Objection 4.
I don't know if those are my words, but okay.
Well, let's pull up tab 2. All right, I'm showing you now what is tab 2. We'll be offering this as exhibit 2. This is every day with your show. There's also a web page posted called the show notes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And today I'm just going to read the first paragraph here. There was a deadly mass shooting in Allen, Texas, and we have information on the killer, Mauricio Garcia. We'll be refuting the media's lies about the fact that he was a white supremacist and so much more. You see that?
I do.
Okay. So again, you had information on the shooter and you were going to refute the media's lies, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when viewers tuned into this, they could reasonably expect that you were going to be trying to provide them with true information about the shooter.
Yes.
And that in providing that information, the information that you had, you demonstrate that the media was lying about the shooting.
Primarily, the media was lying about the shooter. Seems to be the copy written there by Brodigan. Yes.
Sure. Let's
Okay.
change that.
The media.
Because the shooting itself is a bigger topic than the shooter, right? Just one person. So let me ask that again. You had information on the shooter, and you would be refuting the media's lies about the shooter.
Well, that's a description.
Objection 4.
That's a description written by Brodigan on the website, a synopsis of the show. I spoke on the program regarding the media lies and what they were.
Well, let's take a look at that. Let's bring up tab 3. All right, I'm going to show you an excerpt that I want to ask you some questions about from your May 8th show. So let's play that now.
Who the shooter was first. Okay. So you're going to hear the media give you some reports. A lot of what they say is bullshit. All right. Shooter was a 33-year-old Hispanic male. His name was Mauricio Garcia. Mauricio Garcia. Now, the reason that we are pulling this, and you're asking yourself because we make the references available, we're pulling this from Today News Africa, is because it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face. You won't find his face in, here you go, NBC, Wall Street Journal, CNN, CBS, Washington Post. They want to tell you that he was a white supremacist,
yes,
and not see his very Hispanic-looking face.
Right. And a second ago, I actually signaled you because CNN had that lower kind of chyron that said basically that this person was influenced by white supremacy. That's the headline that they're running with right now, over.
Yeah.
To make sure they drill it in.
Okay, my first question is, in the lead up to that show, you had been reviewing a lot of media coverage about the shooting.
Objection 4.
Yes.
Okay. And that review of the media coverage showed that Today News Africa was the only news outfit purporting to show a picture of the shooter's face. Correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. That review of media coverage, that showed that Today News Africa was the only news outfit purported to show the shooter's face.
No.
Okay. So when you said we're pulling this from Today News Africa, it's because it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face. That wasn't accurate.
Sorry, what was the last part of that question?
That wasn't accurate, what you said in the video.
What I was saying was it was the only place currently with an article including the image of the shooter. Yeah.
Okay.
At that moment in time, as I believe it.
Right. So when you were making that broadcast, your review of media had shown you that Today News Africa was the only news outfit doing that, showing a purported picture of the shooter's face.
No.
Okay. I'm a little confused because I thought what you had just said was that at that time, that's why you said that. It's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face. Is that right or is that not right?
No, it was the only place at that moment in time with an active article, including that image. Of course, there were many other places that created or social media. So at that moment in time, because that was a White House press credentialed reporter.
Well, no, that's all I'm asking about is that moment in time. And that they're the only news outfit purporting to show the shooter.
The other people that were named in this lawsuit were Fox News, Newsmax, Hollywood Unlocked, Televista, Univision, Today News Africa, which is the one that he cited, Tim Pool, InfoWars, and Steven Crowder. So yes, there was many people named in this lawsuit here.
shooter's face. We can agree with that.
I don't.
Can you tell me the news outfits that at that moment in time were showing the shooter's face?
No, it'd be difficult to remember. It was everywhere on social media and different articles. So,
well, look, I understand it was on social media. Social media are not media outfits, right? Just some random person on social media is not a media outfit. Correct?
No, I disagree.
Okay. So if you just came across a random account, they, ultra MAGA guy 567, and you saw the picture there, you'd say, well, look, that's a media outlet publishing this photo. Is that right?
No.
Okay. So as far as any other news outlets that were showing you the shooter's face, right now you can't think of any, right?
I don't remember which one's not that point.
All right.
I remember that one because it was a credentialed reporter.
So what I'm really trying to get to is this line from the show. We're pulling this from Today News Africa. It's because it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face. Is that statement true or false at that moment in time?
Could have been poorly worded.
All right. So there are other news outfits showing the shooter's face at this point in time.
Objection form.
I believe there were.
Okay. You just don't know what they are, right?
Not at this moment, no.
I can't imagine they played a big role in your decision to use this photo then, right?
Objection form.
They could have.
I mean, you can't testify to that today. You have no idea what they are, right?
Objection form.
They could have. I couldn't testify to, for example, fact checks of the DNC when one primary source is used, other corroborating sources, because I don't remember if we check it once or twice with another source. We provide usually one.
Okay.
So it's of equal importance to have other people who do.
What do you mean by that? It's of equal importance to have other people that do. What does that mean?
I mean, whether it's social media, whether it's other news outlets, there are several sources that we'll often check, but one is made available. So if CNN makes a claim and we check it and then we see that Washington Post makes the same claim, well, in the reference, CNN may be the one that we reference, but Washington Post was very valuable in ensuring that CNN wasn't the only one making that claim.
Sure, but as we discussed, all sources are not equal, right?
Sure, not all sources are equal. I would agree.
Okay, so we don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what reasonable basis did you have to believe that this photo was being published or was accurate? And so far, I'm hearing Today News Africa, and I'm not sure if I'm hearing anything else.
Oh no, that's not the reason I believe it was accurate. I believe that everything else mentioned in the clip, you even just showed, was correct. As far as the age, as far as the weapons used, and most importantly, the African-American officer, black officer, who took out said shooter, which wasn't being covered, and the media coverage of it. And then there was the image that was incorrect. But all that other information was correct.
Right, but I'm here because my client was misidentified, right? I don't care too much about this African-American police officer or whatever, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out. I mean, the whole point of me having you here today is to try to figure out, did you have any basis to think this thing was real? In terms of this picture, all right. And I'm here in Today's News Africa. Can you tell me any other reason you had to think that it was real?
No, what I'm saying is that all the other reporting information was correct, and a White House press credentialed reporter also included an image. Everything else reported was correct. The image was incorrect from the White House press credentialed reporter. All
right, put a pin in that. We're going to come back and talk to you about that. I promise we're going to talk about this reporter and White House credentials and all of that. So make sure to remember that. I want to ask you though, in the video,
I think it's pretty important to talk about that everything else was correct except for the photo. Also, the name, the age, everything. That guy's name was the exact same as the shooters. It wasn't like they just pulled some random picture out of thin air. It was a mistake, a mistake that I could totally see happening.
You said you won't find his face in NBC, Wall Street Journal, CNN, CBS, Washington Post. They want to tell you that he was a white supremacist and not see his very Hispanic-looking face. Do you remember seeing that in the video?
Yes.
All right. So we can agree that you told your viewers that mainstream media outlets were hiding the picture from the public for nefarious political reasons.
Objection form.
Which picture?
The picture you were displaying from Today News Africa.
Sorry. So I'm sitting on the toilet making an Amber Heard grumpy, as I'm wont to do on occasion. Oh, okay. I just classic overshare. Sorry, I read the room wrong. But no, I mean, it's interesting. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm like, dude, I already consider myself a decently intelligent guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've not heard this. And he's got representation and exactly the premise that I said he could use, he used.
Yeah.
So he was well prepared to say, well, he's a White House press approved.
Yep.
Maybe you should go talk to the White House about that, not me.
Exactly.
There's
it's important. It's important that he is a White House press credentialed reporter. He is a member of the press pool. These are people that are allegedly, supposedly vetted by the White House of the United States of America. There's somebody that you should be able to trust.
Well, but here's the other interesting aspect of it. Usually, well, almost always, good lawyers don't ask questions that they don't already know the answer to.
Yep.
So he already knows that this person is sus. This Africa News Today or whatever is super sus and was likely a DEI plugin in order to make the crowd look more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And probably hardly ever got called on because he was just some plug-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting thing is that if the lawyer is worth his weight, he won't ask a question that he doesn't already know the answer to. So it seems to me that he's already done the research to find out that this guy's just full of gas, this reporter.
Yeah.
So, but then he wants to criticize Steven Crowder for using him, and Steven Crowder says, here's your Uno reverse card. No, blame the administration. He's the press. Brilliant, smart answer. Go ahead. And by the way, kudos to me. Hey, good job.
You definitely get a pat on the back.
No, I don't agree.
Okay. So when you said that you won't find his face in those outlets, and they want to tell you that he was a white supremacist and not see his very Hispanic-looking face, you're saying that's a choice they made, right? These media outlets made a choice.
To include no image verification, yes.
To include no images of the shooter, right?
Right.
And the reason that they didn't include pictures of the shooter, the reason you had to get it from Today News Africa is because they didn't want the public to see the shooter's face. That was what you were telling your audience.
Objection form.
No.
I'm
First
having
of all,
trouble
Steven
reconciling.
Crowder, that's exactly what you were saying on that day. That's exactly what he was saying. In my opinion, allegedly, he was saying that they're not showing his face because he looks very Hispanic, and they want to blame this on a white guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, and he's not only has he said that multiple times in the past.
Yeah.
I myself had said, oh, if it was a white dude, yeah, he'd be all over the front news.
But now during this deposition, when he's specifically asked that question, is that what you meant by that? He's saying, no, that's not what I meant. That's not tracking for me.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Okay. Now, I'm inclined to believe you, as I just pointed out, that I've not only heard him with my own ears say pretty much similar things. I myself would be in agreement with that.
Absolutely.
As being a common practice by the lamestream media. So the interesting thing is, now you ask the further question. Should he strike the Jesus pose and nail himself to a cross on that? Or should he say, prove my intent?
True.
Which is one of the hardest things to do in a court of law, sans a confession. And this lawyer was trying to get him to confess. And instead of confessing, he left it ambiguous.
Yep.
It's not his burden to prove he's innocent. It's their burden to prove he's guilty.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
You're right.
Right. Remember that with fraud at Wrangler, it's not fraud at Wrangler's burden to prove he's innocent.
Yeah.
It's the court's, not the court of public opinion. But, I'm not carrying water, and I'm sorry that I brought the name up, but
he did just lie through his teeth, though. He absolutely just lied through his teeth.
Yeah, well, so did other people.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of lies, so but hey, what would you do? I don't know that it would be why. I would probably tell the truth, and I'd probably end up losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
But then again, it's probably because I wouldn't be able to afford good counsel that would have told me just,
delete that part out.
Yeah, let it be ambiguous.
Yeah.
So anyway.
You're saying now with what you said in the video?
By the way, Xena right now is using Ava's butt as a pillow. That's what's happening in my house.
You said straight up that they don't want you to see his very Hispanic looking face. So that we can say the media outlets made a decision. for political reasons, to say that he was a white supremacist, that they did not want to show his face. Right? That's what you were telling your audience.
To show any images, sure, yeah.
Right, and you had an image, right? You had one that you think they should have shown.
Objection form.
No, I believe they should have shown any image, including the footage of including the misidentifying of the black officer. At that moment in time, there was a push for gun control and a white supremacist shooter. At the time, we were told that was the greatest domestic terror threat, and it was an editorial decision to not include a litany of information as it related to the shooting in total, including a Hispanic shooter who was simply labeled a white supremacist.
I want to talk about two possibilities that existed for you on May 8th, all right? One possibility is that major media organizations made a decision that they were not going to show any pictures of the shooter's face. And they were doing that because they wanted to press a story about white supremacy. And a second possibility is that those news organizations were either unable to confirm the accuracy of a photo, or they had already determined that the photo that you were showing was false. All right, you understand those two possibilities?
No.
I'm not saying you agree with them. I'm understanding you understand that those are two possibilities that exist.
No, the second one is not possible.
It is not possible that the news organizations you were referring to were either unable to confirm the accuracy of the photo or had already determined it was false. You're saying that's impossible.
You just said had determined the image I showed was false.
Correct.
They would not have been able to do that because I was reporting on their reporting. So they wouldn't have been able to report on my image being false or confirm it because their stories were already out there.
Wasn't your image though, right?
Beg your pardon?
We just talked about you didn't break this image.
Oh, sorry, when you said my image, you said second possibility definitively using that they determined my image was false. I was
the image you used.
reported, so that wouldn't be possible.
Let's rephrase that because I'm just saying the image you used. All right. Let's take the image you used and divorce it from your production. Right. That is a physical image that existed out there in the world. Right.
That image, yes.
Yes. It is totally possible that the reason the media wasn't printing any pictures of the shooter is because they'd been unable to confirm the authenticity of any picture, or they had already confirmed that that picture we're talking about, that picture of my client, they had already determined it was false. That's possible.
It's.
Uh-oh. Oh no, I opened up too many tabs. Just give it a second.
It's just like sometimes when you like make it not full screen and bring it back.
Now, of the two possibilities, you have one where the media intentionally doesn't want to show the picture for political reasons, or two, they've simply been unable to confirm a picture. The second possibility is more likely. You'll agree to that?
Objection form.
No, I don't agree.
All right. Do you really think it was rational to think that the Wall Street Journal, of all places, had made a decision to not show the shooter's face so that they could push a narrative about white supremacy?
Yes.
The Wall Street Journal that's owned by News Corp and Rupert Murdoch, that same Wall Street Journal was intentionally deciding not to show the shooter's face for a political reason. That was rational for in your mind.
That same Wall Street Journal, I believe it's rational.
All right. Now, as you said in the video, you acquired the photo from something called Today News Africa, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Where did Today News Africa source the photo from?
Objection form.
I don't remember at this moment in time.
Did they say in their reporting?
I don't remember at this moment.
It'd be important to learn that information, right?
It's their reporting. It's important to report accurately on this person's reporting.
Right. So if Today's News Africa had a primary source, that would be useful information to know.
That would be useful.
And if they didn't have any kind of primary source, they had no sourcing whatsoever, that should have been a red flag for you that you couldn't verify the image, right?
Objection form.
Could be.
You had mentioned earlier that, okay, so first of all, on May 8th, had you ever heard of Today News Africa?
Yes.
Okay. You were familiar with this individual, Simon Ateba?
I don't remember.
Okay. That, to help refresh your memory, that's the person that I believe you referred to as a White House credentialed reporter?
I believe so.
Okay. What credentials, White House credentials, did he have?
Objection form.
I don't know which credentials he had. I know that he was listed as a White House credentialed. I don't know if it was a member of the press corps. There are different kinds of credentials, but that was my understanding.
I mean, how'd you gain this understanding?
Objection form.
I don't remember. At that point in time, there would have been people who verified that and told me that was the case.
Okay. Do you think he had any credentials that were any different than any member of the public who applies to access the White House grounds?
Well, than any member of the public, or than members of the public who are allowed to access the White House grounds.
Right. Do you know what a hard pass is to the White House?
A hard pass?
A hard pass. Yeah.
No.
Okay. You understand that any member of the public can apply to the Secret Service to get a pass to enter White House grounds. Did you know that?
I know people can enter a process, sure.
Okay. Do you have any reason to think that he had any different credentials than just getting a hard pass?
What's the information at the time I did?
Okay. And do you have any reason to believe that, well, for instance, like, did you think he was a member of the White House Correspondents Association?
Objection form.
I don't recall at this time.
Okay. There are a lot of media organizations who have something that they call a White House correspondent, right?
Correct.
Okay. There are even organizations that have people who belong to things called press galleries. They have credentials from a press gallery. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you think that Mr. Ateba had credentials from a press gallery?
Objection form.
I don't recall at this time.
Okay. So in terms of, let me ask you this, in terms of why you believe,
Katie?
Well, let me stop because I'm making an assumption.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. So I started a poll over on mine, and it'd be interesting if you did the same poll on yours.
Okay.
And I don't really want to discuss what my poll is about, but I mean, I'll tell you what the poll is. I just don't want I don't want to sway one way or another with my opinion or your opinion.
Okay.
And maybe you could do something similar. Do you think Crowder is wise to avoid certain levels of accountability? Not all accountability, but certain levels of accountability. You know how to do the poll, right? If you hit that little plus button. Here, I'll put it in the back. Can I copy? Yeah, I can. Okay. Can I copy that? Let me see if that came out.
I'm pulling up my chat right now.
There it is. Okay. Hold on. I copied that there. I'll pull it up right there. I'll put it in the back chat right there. So that way you can just copy and paste it. All right. So the question is, the query for our combined chat is, do you think Crowder is wise in this scenario to avoid certain levels of accountability?
We'll let that poll go for a little while, and we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see the conversations bouncing around with the chat too, as they kind of opine about it and try to manipulate or try to win them over to the way they think on some things.
Well, we have it paused. We need to wake the dogs up. Thank you so much, News No Enemy, for being a member for 17 months. Wow. That's a long time. I appreciate you renewing your membership. Wake up. You're at work right now. What are you doing? Here you go.
But man, of course I like cheesy puffs. It was a good boy or a good girl. That was the girl, right?
They're both girls. Yeah.
They're both girls. Yeah. I kind of regret getting boy dogs. I ain't gonna lie.
Dave is outnumbered around here a lot.
Yeah. That used to be the problem in my house. I was like estrogen overload. And then we got, I think Geronimo was the first male dog we got. And then we ended up getting Finn. And then, of course, Luno offered me Shadow. It's an all-black German Shepherd. And I'm like, I'm not going to turn down a purebred German Shepherd.
We had a all-black... Well, no, he was black and tan. He had tan paws. Our dog Fritz was a black German Shepherd.
And I'm telling you, man, it's just like... It's all kinds of shenanigans going on now in the house.
Yeah. Now we just have mutts.
Mutts, and like if I had to do it over again... I wouldn't get any purebreds because purebred stomachs are so fickle. I mean, the littlest change in diet, next thing you got explosions everywhere. You know, I'm not going to get into the.
Nobody needs that.
No, ain't nobody got time for that. I'll tell you, they should make alarm clocks with like a dry heaving cat or a throwing up dog. You want to talk about getting you up and getting you out of the bed?
Yep.
Every day, every time.
That'll do it.
That'll get you every single time. All right, so let's see. Right now, let's see how many I've gotten. I've gotten 18 votes so far. Come on, guys, we got like 44 people watching. 18 votes. Don't forget that like button on both sides. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Did you believe that?
I'm sorry.
No.
I knew it was going to take a second to. I have 16 on my poll. So there's more people watching than 16. Answer the question, people.
Come on. I don't answer questions. You can't handle the truth. I don't answer questions.
We'll let this play for a couple more minutes and we'll come back and look at the poll. So think about it, answer. Let's see what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah, don't be lamers. Like I
Today
said,
News Africa was a credible and reliable news source?
It's my recollection that at that moment in time, I was informed that it was.
Okay. And why did you believe that?
Objection form.
No, I'd be guessing. I would assume because there were other places that were including that image at the time, and people on my staff said that it was.
See, that's why I got to pop out my chat.
I was going to ask you too. Sometimes when you minimize it and maximize it, it'll stop.
Let's first start with the first part. There were other places using that image at the time.
Oh, is it freezing you up?
Sitting here today, you can't name any of those, right?
I can't remember.
I'm going to bump down the quality a little bit too.
There you go. It's mostly just an audio anyway.
Remember, unless I go through perhaps your suit, I believe you include some.
There's definitely some. You definitely have co-defendants, right, who have done it on varying dates. I'm sure none of these people. You understand? We have lawyers in this room from Univision and Newsmax, and for Mr. Schroyer, none of those. You didn't rely or see on any of their reporting to do your reporting.
Objection form.
They would have been included. Did you?
Well, some of them occurred after your reporting, so that wouldn't have been them, right?
Well, the ones that occurred before, as you just mentioned.
Right. And do you know any of those?
Objection form.
I would have to go through your suit.
Okay. I think we can assume, let me take a publication. I'll take one out of thin air. I think we can assume that you would find a publication like Huffington Post to be frequently unreliable. Am I right in that?
No.
Can you give me an example of a media outlet that you would believe that is not sufficiently reliable enough for you to use the word reliable for them?
Sorry, can you?
Yeah, sure. I'm looking for a media organization you don't find to be generally credible. That you would say, hey, these people are frequently enough unreliable that I don't think they should be relied on for state of fact. Do you know a media organization like that?
Well, the issue is there can be many different news outlets that are reliable at that moment in time, especially if it's original reporting. And that's why multiple sources are often included. But Huffington Post, I would say, is reliably opinion presented, obviously leaning left. As far as unreliable, anyone can be unreliable, make mistakes, and they can be reliable in other instances.
Right, but we talked about how not all sources are equal. Some sources are well more reliable than others, right?
Sometimes.
Okay. So let's take, for instance, let's take Huffington Post. Huffington Post has a White House correspondent. You understand that?
If you say so.
Okay. That fact, the fact that they have a White House correspondent, that doesn't make them reliable, does it?
It would be something taken into consideration.
I would tend to imagine that you would find the majority of White House correspondents to be generally unreliable. Is that not true?
Objection form.
I would generally disagree with many of them.
Well, I mean, you tell your audience on a pretty regular basis that various mainstream organizations are lying to them, right?
That's correct.
not just unreliable, not just makes mistakes, actively lies to them. You told your audience that many times. Hold on. All right. So, all right, here's some wordsmithing. Can I rely on the fact that CNN will skew data in a left-leaning manner? I can rely on the fact that they will lie. They're reliably lying to me. You know what I mean? It's like, it depends on what the definition of is. I mean, we're getting that.
Okay, Bill Clinton.
Right? Yeah, we're getting that nitty-gritty with it. I mean, it's like, well, what did you mean when you meant reliable? Can I rely on them to lie to me and give me a left-leaning ideology, which will often leave out exculpatory evidence of something counter to that being true? Yeah, I can definitely rely on them to do that, which I find to be unreliable, but you didn't ask me that.
He's doing a very good job of making sure it's understood that opinion-based media outlets are different from news-based media outlets because there's shows on CNN that are strictly opinion-based, and then there's shows on CNN that are just fact-based.
And-
So those are two different things. Those are two different shows. Same thing. I think he mentioned Huffington Post is mostly opinion-based. So that's not a reliable place to get. Like if you're reading an opinion piece, that's not reliable information. Then
Well, and even most newspapers have an op-ed section, right?
Yeah,
Opinion,
exactly.
editorial notes, where they just kind of get free range to throw their 2 cents into something, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So even in that case, I mean, you could be blurring lines of, well, is all parts of a newspaper to be relied upon? Well, some of it's opinion.
Yep.
I don't know. But he's also asking to, like, how can I verify the veracity of every particular? I mean, I'm just one person.
Yep.
But I guess enough data points equals some reliable data at that point in time. It's not just anecdotal at that point. It's a cluster of points. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's doing a good job of being just slippery enough, but not gross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's being a slippery, like he's being a little eelish, but he's not being slimy like an eel, I guess. I don't know.
He also knows that the person who he is forced to, by law, have this conversation with is his enemy and is trying to hem him up,
Exactly. Very
So-
adversarial situation.
Exactly.
Precisely.
I'm so glad the Angry Vet is on your channel and not mine because I would have to time him out for the all caps that's happening in my chat over here. I keep seeing it out of the corner of my eyes and I'm thinking, why aren't my people timing this person out? That's not allowed on my channel. But
Oh, we could. Hey, mods.
you don't have to. It's your channel. You can time him out.
No. That's kind of a rule
you
on my
don't have
channel.
to.
I just let the autistic tard, known as the Angry Vet, just kind of spurg out in my channel because it's usually entertainment. He's actually really good for my algorithm.
He's not saying anything bad. It's just that the
all caps.
All caps is just is
Well,
ridiculous.
the more you act like it bothers you, the more he's like the retarded cousin that you have to have at the family reunion kickball game. He's nowhere near the kickball, just slamming into Sally over there, knocking her on the ground. She's crying now, but you got to let the retarded cousin play because it's your cousin. It's a family reunion.
I have to tell you, I said something about this in another person's chat. It was on my friend Frank's channel. And the people who were typing in all caps came back and said they type in all caps because they can't see because they're old.
Yeah.
It is such an elderly boomer thing to do, to type in all caps. And I had confirmation on it from that interaction that one day. So, like, what are you doing? Are you that old? Get some glasses. Get some readers.
Yeah, I had somebody that kind of used that excuse, but who knows, man? Who knows?
Also, how are you reading the other chats if that's the case?
Well, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just so self-important that they only care about their own chat, and that's why they're using all caps because they think they're important.
I guess. All right, let's get back to it. Enough with this distraction. He's not worth the time.
And there is a difference, yes.
And so, say you got a mainstream media organization, one that you've criticized for lying in the past. It wouldn't follow for you to consider that organization to be generally reliable, would it?
No, that's incorrect.
Can you reconcile for me how? I mean, look, we're talking about that old MSM, the ones who lie all the time. Can you reconcile to me your position publicly that these organizations are filled with politicized liars, with the idea that no, actually they're generally reliable?
I didn't say they were generally reliable.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure of.
I said I wouldn't write them off as unreliable.
Right.
There have been who I disagree with politically, tremendously, who have outright lied in some instances, and have done original reporting in other instances.
And so you know to do your own due diligence when you're dealing with that kind of media outlet, right?
Objection form. Go ahead.
Yeah. With any media outlet. But I wouldn't write off one as completely unreliable or one as completely reliable. That's what I make available.
And why it's important to do your own due diligence, correct?
And why I think it's most important to make the references publicly available.
All right. In order for the image to be shown on your show that day, again, we talked about it. It wasn't the when you're broadcasting on the show, as you're saying it, that's not the first time you see that image. You saw it before you went on the show.
Yes.
And you would have to, in order for the image to be shown on your show, you would have to approve its use.
Objection form.
Yes.
Okay. And once you use the image and approve it, were other Louder with Crowder staff members permitted to use that image, or would they have to take some additional steps before they could use the image?
They would be able to use it.
Okay. Before you decided to use our client's image, did you know if you were looking at the original image?
What do you mean?
If the image that you were looking at was the original image, or if it had been somebody else's edited image, if it had been cropped, changed, manipulated, anything like that.
I don't recall at this time. That would have been a process with staff with any image.
Did you know who took the original image?
I don't recall at this time.
Did you know when the photo was taken?
I don't recall at this time. That's why I referenced the person who had included that image.
Did you know where the photo was taken?
I don't recall at this time.
Did you at least know why the photo was taken?
Again, I don't recall at this time.
Okay. Well, we know we're looking at a booking photograph, right?
This is a good time to see how our poll is doing, since he's going over the I don't recall at this time over and over and over again. I have 27 votes and 89% of the people answered yes. The question was, do you think Crowder is wise to avoid certain levels of accountability? What does your poll say?
You got one more. I just added my vote to yours. I got 24 votes. I'm 67 to 33.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a lot of rebellious folks in my they're like toddlers. I do want to do a housekeeping if I may.
Yeah.
My wife, Morning Mist, she has the authority to hide people on the channel. Matter of fact, I think she could even kick me off my own channel because she's a managing moderator. I will let you know if you're hidden. I've adopted Katie Zed's Jubilee.
I stole that from somebody else too. So
perfect. Probably Asmongold. Probably he likes to do that on occasion. He'll review, like if people text him or email him, he might review why they were, and he has like a little list of the things that they had said that got them hidden. That said, I'm going to adopt something that Richard Madsen, Demolished Doctrine, said. If we time you out for 5 minutes, you have the potentiality and the opportunity to come back and make maybe better decisions. If you get timed out for 10 minutes, the same. If you get timed out for 24 hours, you can come back and just be a better person. And then there's a likelihood that you won't get timed out the next time. If you act like an insufferable twit, we reserve the right to, like I say on my channel, we are a dictatorship. We'll throw you into a gulag without written prior notice. But I would appreciate it if you act like you got some home training.
And I just gave out 5 of my memberships, so hopefully some good people get those.
Like me?
Maybe. I think you already got one.
Looks like paired. Oh, hold on. Looks like paired. Wait a minute. Who's paired? Paired.
Oh, that's just your channel is paired.
Oh, okay. So that's coming from my channel.
Yeah,
got it. Okay.
Paired on it is your channel, and anything that doesn't is my channel. It might be reversed for you. I'm not sure.
You can, if you look on your YouTube, it should show you in green right below where you gave them out. Who got if you want to shout them out.
I mean, no, they're fine.
Yeah, whatever. Screw it. We don't care about our members. What was I thinking? God, she's the worst.
It's going to take a minute for my computer.
Yeah, you could have shouted them all out by then. But look at you.
I probably could have.
Yeah, you just minimize it, maximize it. It should work. You got to get a fan blowing on it or something, maybe. Who knows, man?
Oh, no.
What happened? Now, you paused it, right? Are we going to end it? I think I'm going to end mine. 69, I dig it, right? 69 to 31. All right. That's a good year. All right. Let's see.
Let's bump down the quality some more. We can do this.
Chugga, 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 chugga. Go back just a split second with it. Maybe that'll help. It'll kind of help reset it. You know what I mean? Like hit the back
It's
arrow.
refreshed. Oh no.
You broke it.
I broke it.
You should have read the members' names off.
I have really good internet too. I should have my brother always says you need to download the stuff before you play it, and I never do that, and I should.
Oh, Nero does a lot of like tech support for a living, and he said it might be RAM on your computer because you have too many things open.
Probably that.
You should just blame me. I'm Duct Tape Productions, so a little bit of duct tape, 550 cord. We got this.
I'm closing everything.
I mean, I don't want to sit here and tell you that I'm actually playing Path of Exile right now.
What was bullshit about it?
I don't remember where we were at. I think we were about here.
I don't know that information was known.
I'm sitting here. I'm telling you right now. I don't think you or your people did know that. I don't think so. I have positions about whether I think you should have known that. But what I'm asking is, if you did know it, if you did know the shooter had no criminal history, and you did know that the shooter was not arrested at the scene, then you would have known that a mugshot was not the shooter, or at least would have raised serious doubts about whether that was the correct image, right?
I gotta pause this again right away. I'm so sorry. He's talking about how it was a mugshot. First of all, it wasn't obviously a mugshot. It was just a picture of a person with a blank wall behind him. He wasn't holding one of those slats with the prison numbers. It didn't have the height thing next to him. It had none of that. And even if you did know it was a mugshot, even somebody without a record can also have a mugshot if they got arrested and released without being charged, or the charges were dropped or something like that. So this whole line of questioning really pissed me off.
Well, I have a few thumbnails of Christopher Ryder without any of those measurements behind him that are indeed and in fact mugshots, though.
Yeah, the famous Trump mugshot was just on a blank wall. You know,
couldn't miss an opportunity to kind of take a crap on Chris Ryder. You know,
why not?
If one did know that there was no criminal history, if one knew that there had never been any type of image taken in any police precinct or legal type situation or context, if one knew that definitively and then knew that that was definitively a mugshot, then that would be a reasonable assumption, I believe, if I've met those prerequisites that you've said.
And now assume for me that you didn't know for sure, but you had conflicting reports. You had one report saying it was a mugshot. You had another report saying there was no criminal history and no arrest. Without knowing which one is true, you would agree that that would create a situation in which that would produce significant doubt about whether that image is correct or not.
Objection form.
Right?
I don't know.
All right.
Hey, Mark, when you get to a stopping point, can we take a break since it's been about an hour?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a bad idea. Let's do that. And tell you what, you want to like take a 20-minute maybe? Something like that? Is that okay?
20 minutes? Do you want less than that? What do you want?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, back at 2:50.
Yep, sounds good to me.
That'll work.
Off the record at 2:29 p.m.
They end up coming right back.
The time is 2:53 p.m. We're back on the record.
I want to ask you about something you said during the show. You had kind of started your segment there about the shooter's identity by saying who the shooter was. A lot of what the media is telling you is bullshit. You remember saying that?
Yeah, you showed it to me.
What was bullshit about it?
Well, if I recall, in the context of that, when we ran clips or segments, this effect was the white supremacist mass shooter, and then of course the aggressive push for gun control, and that the media had initially just covered it as a white supremacist mass shooter, and then didn't go back to it, which was a pattern.
What do you mean didn't go back to it? What does that mean?
Didn't go back to the story that they said they would be reporting on once new information had come out, and instead pivoted to the gun control measures. And I believe that we were pointing out at that point that the black officer used what would be described as an assault weapon.
So are you saying that they abandoned the idea that the shooter was a white supremacist?
I'm saying that the coverage significantly less afterward.
After what?
After the name and information on the shooter was available.
Well, the name was available well before you did your broadcast, right?
Sure.
Like the media, in other words, when the media was calling this person a white supremacist, this narrative that they allegedly abandoned, it was known that the shooter was a Hispanic man.
Well, I didn't say they allegedly abandoned that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting really confused by some of your answers today, and I apologize for that. Because what I believe that I had heard
He said
is that
okay.
they shifted the story away from this white supremacy stuff once new information came out.
No, they shifted away from the wall-to-wall coverage altogether.
Wall-to-wall coverage of the shooting, or the coverage that he was a white supremacist?
Of the event altogether, yes.
Okay, so it's
initial coverage was white supremacist mass shooting.
Uh-huh.
And then when the story was Hispanic male mass shooter taken out by black officer with, I believe, an AR-15 or something equivalent, the story was not covered with the same zeal. And I believe that's the point that we were addressing. Contextually.
I'm not understanding, though, from the day of the shooting, well, or at least the day after, at least since May 7th, we all knew it was a Hispanic mass shooter, right?
I believe you're correct the day after, yes.
And so when the media was pushing this story about that, law enforcement sources were saying that he was a white supremacist, they did that knowing he was Hispanic.
Not initially.
I don't understand, Mr. Crowder. We knew his name was. We knew his name was.
Hold on, let him talk.
We knew on May 7th.
So hold
report.
up here. So, a picture of a guy who's were they both the same exact age from the same area with the same name?
Yes.
Same exact age. I mean,
I think they were like a year apart or something like that. They were very close in age.
right.
They may have even had the exact same birthday.
No, that can't be possible.
They were both 33.
Wow. So I mean, the interesting thing is that
Just
there was
what I just said about the age. Just slap an allegedly on that. I don't know for sure, but I believe they were the same age. Put it that way.
well, the interesting thing, I mean, regardless, the fact that the other group did not put a picture with it,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
How many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen an article written where if it's a particular demographic, they'll call them youths
Mhm.
or teenagers or
Lunchtime rowdies is my favorite one.
yeah, they'll go out of joggers. They'll go out of their way
Yep.
to do everything but describe them the way that they would have to be described in order for you to be on the lookout for somebody that might be endangering other people in the area.
Every time something happens, I'm looking for the new euphemism to drop, Might be wrong is letting me know 2 years apart, and that is a source I do trust. So they were similar age, not exact same age.
Right. So the 33 is the accurate age,
Mhm.
but the information was accurate. The picture was wrong. That's the only error that the Crowder, but they didn't include the picture. The Crowder team added the picture and then they ran with that.
The Crowder team added the picture they showed the news story from that Africa site, which had
Right.
the picture in it.
Oh, okay. So they didn't even show the picture.
Well, they put them
Or
on the
they
thumbnail.
didn't even pick the picture. They just okay.
Yeah.
I should have caught that. I thank you for correcting that because I thought the only addition was that the Crowder team put that picture associated with it, thinking that they might have been like, all right, you're leaving it out because feelings.
Here's the thing is, would he be wrong to assume that it happens so much?
Right.
So why wouldn't he assume that was correct, that they were leaving it out for those reasons? I would
Well,
assume that.
It's been, like I said, it's not like anecdotal when it happens so consistently that you can set your watch to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean it's but the crazy thing is that I'm trying to think to myself like, so you said there were multiple organizations that are being sued, not
Yes.
just the African one and Crowder's. There were more than that on top of that.
9
you have
others, or
9.
9 total. 9 total.
Okay, so I mean it's a pretty good shotgun.
Mhm.
So do we know the outcomes of the others?
No, they're all included in the same lawsuit, so it's going on right now.
Okay, so this is just like this deposition just got released.
Just
Might not have
dropped.
just happened though.
Yeah.
Like how long, what was the date of the actual deposition here? Like how far removed are we from that?
A full day before you.
Let's see if
You
it
can,
says.
I was gonna say you can play it if you want while we're trying to figure it out. I'm not in a rush, man, but I don't want to drag your show on more than you're comfortable.
I'll just read the description. Deposition testimony of Stephen Crowder regarding the identification of an innocent man as a neo-Nazi mass murderer on his show. The testimony was taken in connection with limited discovery permitted by the court to respond to Crowder's anti-SLAPP motion to dismiss. So he's suing to get the case dismissed, and that's why it was released, it sounds like. The deposition was conducted by Mark Bankston of that's funny, Farrer and Ball LLP. Crowder was defended by Kinsey Lakely of Platt Richmond PLLC. Shortly following this deposition, the lawsuit was settled. So this case was settled. So he must have paid this guy off or something.
So question for me is this.
Uh-huh.
This is a little bit of an aside. What happened to his half Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond? Did he go the way of Sven Computer and not gay Jared?
I believe so.
Wow, there seems to be a pattern there.
Yeah.
Allegedly in Minecraft of dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
We did talk a little bit about that, but it's not anything that I can talk about publicly because it involves people that I know personally. So I can't really talk about it.
Understood.
Yeah.
I got opinions, but I'll keep them to myself right now. All right.
Let's continue this. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break after I press play.
I'm going to ruin the show the second you walk away.
Okay.
The whole world knew that this was Mauricio Garcia.
We're going streaking.
That's what we reported that day. Yes, I believe your memory is correct. It was the day after the shooting that information came out, right? Yes.
Right. And then the day after that is when you did your reporting.
Right.
So we already knew he was Hispanic. That didn't change. Nothing changed in terms of his identity.
I did because I believe the information became available after I believe what you just showed me was a Monday.
I'll take your word for it.
I think that was the clip that you just shown. So if it would have been available during the weekend, but not when the shooting had just taken place. So initially it was simply white supremacist mass shooting. And that was covered with great enthusiasm. And then the day after, as I believe your recollection is correct, Hispanic male, it wasn't covered with the same extensive coverage.
Well, let's walk through the chronology. All right, we have the shooting on May 6th. And on May 6th, we don't know anything about the shooting. There's no information on who the shooter was, his identity, his motivations, anything. You agree with that?
I don't know if that's correct, and I don't know that the media was covering it that way. I believe they were covering it as a white supremacist immediately.
All right. I think if you go back and you look at these events, what you're going to find happen is that the New York Times published from law enforcement sources saying that Mauricio Garcia had social media that had neo-Nazi ideation, he had tattoos, and that they were looking at a social media site, right? That's where all this comes from, right? Is this New York Times report. And on that day, as that's being reported, it's being reported that the guy's name is Mauricio Garcia. So what I'm trying to understand is what new information came to light that you say made the media change the narrative of its story?
I would imagine that it's a Hispanic male being labeled a white supremacist, and that was why they didn't cover it nearly as extensively.
Let me just make sure I have you correct. Do you think that the media was saying, that mainstream media outlets were saying that the shooter was a white supremacist shooter, and they did that without saying that he was Hispanic or given his name?
I believe that they were reporting, my recollection is reporting he was a white supremacist, and as it was circulating, this was a Hispanic male. The story was not being covered with the same deal. Yeah.
No, again, I'm going back to the idea of, do you believe that there were reports identifying the shooter as white supremacist that also did not include his name and include to his ethnic identity?
There could have been. I don't recall exactly. I'm going by your timeline.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But I do remember at that point in time, it was labeled the greatest domestic terror threat, white supremacy. And that was something in the media quite a bit. Absolutely. It was always something being covered.
Completely. I agree. You don't have any reason to dispute with me that the shooter's name was known on May 7th.
I don't have any reason to dispute.
Okay.
That's fake news. That's fake news.
Yeah, I think this whole line of questioning is kind of funny. Like, do you think they weren't reporting it? Like, as soon as they found out the guy's name, they stopped reporting on the story and turned to gun control stories.
No, I was talking about Andrew Fraser's comment. That never happened. I'll deny it. Did you read it?
No.
Why are you laughing then? How do you know it's even funny? It could be tragic. You're so insensitive. Did you read it? Did you find it?
That one?
Hold on. I'm switching back and forth. I'm trying to be. Which one? Yeah, that one. That didn't happen. Even though I said we're going streaking, it did not happen.
I don't believe you.
Oh, he's saying on the bottom box. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But that might have happened.
Oh, when I reached around to turn back on their light, maybe. I don't know. It happens. Whatever. I'm not ashamed of myself.
I'm trying to get used to like the paired. Knowing
You said that my
those are
client
from
has a
my chat.
very Hispanic-looking face. What does that mean?
It means exactly what I said.
Can you explain it to me? I'm confused as to what that means.
You're confused as to what a Hispanic person looks like?
Yeah, is there anybody Hispanic on their Zoom call right now?
Objection form.
Well, I see a lot of boxes.
Well, you got some pictures in front of you. You got gallery view. Is there any Hispanics on the call right now?
Objection form.
I would not one that would jump out to me as a very clearly Hispanic male face.
All right, so help me understand what that is, because there is a Hispanic on this call.
Now, I'm not a very litigious person. I don't understand what it's like to be deposed. But according to Chris Ryder, apparently that's in my future coming really soon. And it seems like the Angry Vegetable also feels as though I'm going to be getting sued. And all the super chats that I get on my channel, he says, thanks for contributing to Scars, because I think he's going to, like, as if he's going to actually take all that money and then put it towards Scars and not himself.
I can't wait. I'll cover it on my channel.
Yeah. Oh, God. You'd be like, oh, I can't believe how smug GS was right there. I'm going to try to emulate him. But, oh, man. What was I was saying something earlier. I just lost it. What the heck was the point of me stopping? Why did I stop that?
I don't know.
I don't either. I'll stop stopping it. I just lost the whole thread right there.
What is a very Hispanic looking face?
Objection form.
In the context of white supremacist, people generally think of white people, and this was clearly a Hispanic male.
Are you saying that Hispanic people are not white?
That's what I wanted. That's what it was.
I'm saying they aren't.
When she says objection form, that's what you were talking about for the audience. That's where he might answer it, but it could eventually be stricken from the record and when they agree, as opposed to letting a judge a judge can't adjudicate it in the moment, right?
Yeah, there's no judge there.
So who gets to judge whether it gets allowed or not? Would it be
the judge will eventually?
Will.
Yeah.
Got it. So each lawyer is just on the record. We object based on the form of the question.
Because it will definitely get in if it's not objected to. So.
Okay.
And I think it's kind of funny that this lawyer is pretending not to know what a Hispanic person looks like. What do you mean by a Hispanic looking face? Well, he looked like a Hispanic. How do you want me? Do you want me to describe the features? Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, it'd be funny if like Crowder was like holding up a picture like Speedy Gonzalez. He looked like this, but he was really sleepy until he ran real fast.
The famous or infamous now, I guess, of the sombrero wearing Hispanic, like sleeping against the cactus. Yeah.
Typically white supremacists.
Where'd you get that idea? That's you believe that Hispanic people aren't white. There are no white supremacist Hispanic people.
I didn't say no. I said typically.
Right. That means that there are. Right. That does exist. If you say yeah, typically. That comes with a but, doesn't it? But there are Hispanic white supremacists. All right?
If you say there are some.
I'm asking you. Did you know that?
I would imagine that people who are not particularly white.
I didn't know that there was Hispanic white supremacists until this story, until I started researching this story. So for this guy to act so surprised that somebody didn't know that there was Hispanic white supremacists is insane to me.
I agree.
Like what? Yeah, exactly. The look on Crowder's face of being, kind of amused by the line of questions is exactly that. Yes. Yeah, he's Hispanic. We didn't think he was a white supremacist.
Well, to be fair, I have heard of this person. His name is Clayton Bigsby. Have you heard of him?
No.
He's a black white supremacist. The Chappelle Show, Clayton
Oh,
Bigsby.
yes. Yeah. I'm like, that it's ringing a bell. I can't put my finger on it. Yeah.
That's Clayton Bigsby. He's the black white he married a white woman. He's like, oh, how could he do that? It's your wife. She's oh, what? And then he what did he say? He ended up towards the end of the show. He divorced her because he would never be with a woman that would marry a.
Well, and apparently the real shooter was actually a Hispanic white supremacist. I had never heard of one before this case, to be honest, to be fair.
Like he legit had the ideology. It wasn't just like, I like the way
he
that
had the
looks.
tattoos.
Well, yeah, but like I just said,
He was spouting off on that Russian website about white supremacy and incels shit. So I think if he wasn't, he put on a good show of being that.
Well, I mean, if a kid can identify as a cat and get a cat litter box in the high school to crap and pee, and then the teacher has to go in there and scoop it up, well, why can't a Mexican identify? Okay, whatever. I mean, welcome to 2025.
Don't make great white supremacists.
That's an interesting question. So let's.
It wasn't a question.
First of all,
it's a statement.
It actually raises a very interesting question, man. You know what a Chicano is?
I know the term Chicano, yes.
Okay. And I'm using that to mean an ethnic identity for Mexican Americans who have a non-Anglo self-image. All right, you've heard that term before, Chicano?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
That I'm using it to mean an ethnic identity for Mexican Americans who have a non-Anglo self-image.
Sure.
You've heard Chicano used that way, right?
I've heard the term Chicano, yes.
Not every Hispanic is a Chicano. You'd agree with that?
Of course.
And there are Hispanics, you understood, as of last year, there are Hispanics who do have an Anglo self-image.
Sure. If you're talking
what I'm saying is you may not see them as white, but there are Hispanics who definitely see themselves as white.
Objection form.
You mean like from Spain, perhaps? Yeah.
No, I'm saying there's Mexicans.
Brazil.
No, I'm saying Mexican Americans. There are Mexican Americans who identify as white.
Objection form.
Okay.
Did you understand that?
Well, I understand that.
Okay. And so let me put it this way. You understood when covering this shooting that the quote unquote whiteness of Hispanic people has been heavily culturally litigated over the past 60 years and up to the present day. That's something you understood.
Objection form.
I don't understand the question.
I'm trying to say
Hispanic whiteness litigated since in the last 60 years. I mean, I just want to understand.
Yeah, culturally litigated. In other words, that they're well, let me put it this way. I take it you like in your life you've known some Hispanic people, and some of them might have names like Robert, and some of them might have names like Roberto. You understand what I mean?
Very well.
All right, and you understand what I mean by assimilationism, that there is a part of Hispanic culture that has attempted to be assimilationist, right, and adopt into white American culture. You know that exists.
I understand that it exists with certain.
You understand that there is also another separate part of Hispanic culture, which is non-assimilationist, which rejects an Anglo self-identity, right?
Sure.
And you understand that some people who are Hispanic identify as white, whereas other people in our culture do not consider them white. You understand that?
Are you saying that some people identify as white and other people don't identify? Yes.
Consider them white.
Yes, I understand. Well, I understand white supremacy very well, but they would not include any of the aforementioned groups amongst them.
Right.
They would not allow it, which is why it's a repugnant ideology.
Right. So what I'm saying is, you already knew when broadcasting this show that not only do some Hispanics identify as white. Let's go back. When I talk about like cultural litigation, for instance, the real shooter. Let's talk about the real 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia who committed this crime. All right. That person very well might consider themselves white or considered before their death, but you didn't consider them white, correct?
Objection form.
Would I consider a Hispanic-looking male white? No, I would consider them a Hispanic male.
Do you know what the real shooter looks like?
What the real shooter looks like? Mm-hmm. It is my understanding that he's a Hispanic male.
Well, I'm asking you, does he have a very Hispanic-looking face?
He does. He does have a very Hispanic-looking face.
To the best of my recollection, he looks Hispanic, yes.
Okay. You understood when doing your broadcast that not only do some Hispanics identify as white, some identify as neo-Nazis and white supremacists. You knew that, right?
What?
I didn't know that.
No.
You didn't know that. That was new information to you.
Yeah.
I believe if you watch the show, it was comical information.
You found it funny that a Hispanic person, in an attempt to litigate their own whiteness, might associate with white supremacy and white supremacist ideas. You thought that was funny.
I find it comical that someone who would not be accepted amongst racist white supremacists in any way, shape, or form would identify with them.
You really in touch with how racist white supremacists might view certain people? Is that something you know a lot about?
Objection.
What the?
Are you asking me personally? Or
Yeah. Like, I don't know how you look. I know there are Hispanic white
Wow,
supremacists.
it's not
That's a
like
thing
more
that
of an
exists, right? I know
accusation than
that.
a
I know there are neo-Nazi white supremacists.
Like I said, I hate both sides of this. Like this lawyer is something else. And yeah, I guess I can kind of see where Steven Crowder's coming from, the way he's answering these things, but he kind of pisses me off too, just in general.
Who have Hispanic backgrounds, right? And I think what you're saying is that that's actually not possible because no white supremacist would ever associate.
Objection form.
So I guess what I'm getting at is
you're correct. As a general rule, white supremacists tend to be quite racist.
Right. I get that. And Hispanic white supremacists also tend to be quite racist, don't they?
Objection form.
I know that Hispanic people can be racist as anyone can be racist.
I'm asking you specifically, though, about Hispanic white supremacists. Can be very, very racist, right?
Objection form.
I would imagine if a Hispanic person identifies as a white supremacist, that they would be quite racist.
I think we can agree there. Now, I think as we've established, not every Hispanic is visibly clockable as being Hispanic. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. And Hispanic being a big, you understand that there are a lot of different backgrounds that a person could have that would make them Hispanic.
Absolutely, or Latino.
For instance, Ted Cruz, he's Hispanic, but he's also Canadian like you, right?
Well, I'm American, but...
Oh, I thought you were Canadian.
I was raised in Canada, but I was born in Michigan.
Anchor baby, right?
No, my dad's American.
Oh, are they too? Okay.
Yeah, my dad's American, my grandparents are American.
Oh, so you were just a temporary expat then, basically.
My mom's French Canadian, and we lived there for a while, so you
Gotcha.
automatically get a citizenship when your mother's French Canadian in Quebec. But I don't know that anchor baby would be appropriate.
No, yeah, it sounds more like you just maybe have a dual background there. You got on both sides of the border.
Sure.
The
northern side.
Did this lawyer just call Steven Crowder an anchor baby unironically? Is that that's what I just heard?
Yeah, he's just kind of crapping on him. Like, because your people, they hate those kind of people, don't they? Because your people don't like those anchor babies, right? Because he's low-key calling him a white supremacist.
He's absolutely calling him a white supremacist. He said, you identify with white supremacists, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, what? No?
It's like I said, I mean, that's beyond trying to fight for your client.
Yep.
That's beyond it, bro. I mean, to me, that's a low. That's disgusting. And I know it gets worse than that. I get it. I mean, look, Battlefield's not flat. It's got hills. I understand. It's disgusting behavior, dude. It's slimy.
It's very slimy. It's very lawyery.
Well, I mean, there's certain labels that, especially at certain levels, once they're ascribed to you by certain people that are considered esteemed in society, like a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, when you start, getting hit with labels like that, that can be damaging. That could be career ending.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about Hispanic. They exist in Canada too.
That's true. That's true. So I think one of the things we can get to is that it's impossible to paint the entire Hispanic community with a broad brush in terms of you can look at them and identify them as Hispanic, right?
Correct, which is why I issued the qualifier of a very Hispanic-looking person.
Right. So when you saw my client's photo and his very Hispanic-looking face, you thought you could use that on your show to show that the media was lying, right?
The idea, again, there's lying and there's a narrative. There's a difference that white supremacists, people obviously, what you can litigate it here, that are culturally litigated, people have an image in mind and when they think of white supremacist, and it's generally not Hispanic-looking people.
It's generally not Chicanos, right?
Objection form.
I said it's generally not Hispanic-looking people to the American
Right,
public.
but I think what we're getting at, like, look, you look at a picture of my client, right? And he's got the Gothic script tattoo of his girlfriend on his neck. He's got the lowrider haircut, the Edgar haircut, right? You can look at my client and you can know This is a guy who identifies with his Mexican roots. You think that's pretty clear from looking at him?
Objection form.
If I were asked if he looked Hispanic, I would answer yes.
Right. And in fact, he doesn't really look like the kind of Hispanic who would be a white supremacist, does he?
Objection form.
But neither does the other guy.
Any Hispanic, again, is difficult to reconcile in the United States as a white supremacist, given how white supremacists view Hispanics.
Again, maybe for you, right? But we know there are neo-Nazi Hispanics. We know that there are white supremacist Hispanics. But they don't tend to look like my client, do they?
Objection form.
I don't know.
Okay. But as far as about, you remember we looked at earlier, we saw about how the idea here was you had information on this shooting and you were going to show the lies of the mainstream media. But when it comes to the identity of the shooter,
hey, Katie,
you were incorrect about that. The media wasn't lying. All right.
When he said he had a, did he say he had an Edward haircut or an Edgar haircut?
I thought he said he's had a lowrider haircut, but I could be wrong about what he said.
Can we rewind it like about a good 25, 30 seconds? Because I'm wondering if that's like a Edward Norton kind of American History X kind of.
Maybe. Let me throw this up on the screen really quick, though. This is the thumbnail I made for today, but I wanted to show you guys because I have both of their pictures in the thumbnail. These two people have similar haircuts, right?
Right.
They they have similar features. They could be cousins. Am I wrong about that? Like, they're not dissimilar look. Well, one of them doesn't look white passing than the other. By the way, the one in the middle is the actual shooter, and the one off to the side is the one that was misidentified.
Right.
But they look similar to me. I don't know if it's just me, but they don't look like they're of different ethnic backgrounds, I should say.
I mean, the guy on the left looks more Arab than Mexican to me.
Yeah.
But he don't look white.
Yeah,
I mean,
none of them look
shockingly white.
Exactly.
Can you hear me chewing?
Yeah, I can.
You can.
All right.
Who identifies
I'm so
with
sorry.
his Mexican roots.
I thought it was
that's
the
pretty
normal
clear from looking at
settings.
him?
Objection form.
If I were asked,
I don't know if I rewound far enough. We'll go back another minute.
You saw my client's photo in his very Hispanic looking face. You thought you could use that on your show to show that the media was lying, right?
the idea, again, there's lying and there's a narrative. There's a difference that white supremacists, people obviously, what you can litigate it here, not or culturally litigate it, people have an image in mind and when they think of white supremacist, and it's generally not Hispanic looking people.
It's generally not Chicanos, right?
Section 4.
I said it's generally not Hispanic looking people to the American
Right, and but I think what we're getting at, like, look, you look at a picture of my client, right? And he's got the Gothic script tattoo of his girlfriend on his neck. He's got the lowrider haircut, the Edgar haircut, right? You can look at my client and you can know.
I don't know what an Edgar haircut is.
Well, it looked like you said an Edward haircut. Oh, like Edward, like a king, like a King Edward, where it's kind of like
maybe.
Oh, hold on, because Mr.
He did also say lowrider haircut, by the way, so I did hear that correctly.
We said Edgar haircut. No, Edgar haircut, not Edward. Okay, so Edgar. Huh, Edgar. What the hell is an Edgar haircut?
I have no idea.
Rats heard Edgar too. That's what I thought I heard, but I'm like, so that's why I'm like, all right, well, is he trying to insinuate that the guy's got like a, Edgar haircut is a trendy style with a bowl, like shape and a blunt fringe. It's a Mexican interpretation of the Caesar cut, right?
All right.
Okay.
I'm so glad the chat is here.
Yeah, chat helps
fact
out quite a
check
bit.
us.
And I didn't realize that my mic is picking everything up. So even my chewing, normally, even if I have it to hear, you were still able to hear it, huh?
Just when this is paused, when the audio is playing.
I got a mute button. There's no reason for you to hear me eating snacks over here. By the way, if you'd like to donate to my Cheesy Poo Fund, it will also help the doggos get a bone too.
Yeah, absolutely. Speak of you know what? Ask and you shall receive. Oh, wrong one. Somebody said super chat and a super chat came in. Thank you so much. I will wake the dogs up for that. I'm glad. I'm like it when they come in when we're still paused, so I don't have to, try to remember. I'm blonde. Remembering's difficult for me. Here you go, Miss Zena. And the star of the show, Ava. She's a little bit of a terrorist, but we keep her around. Let me click the correct buttons in the correct order.
This is a guy who identifies with his Mexican roots. You think that's pretty clear from looking at him?
Objection form.
If I were asked if he looked Hispanic, I would answer yes.
Right. And in fact, he doesn't really look like the kind of Hispanic who would be a white supremacist, does he?
Objection form.
Well, any Hispanic, again, is difficult to reconcile in the United States as a white supremacist, given how white supremacists view Hispanics.
Again, maybe for you, right? But we know there are neo-Nazi Hispanics. We know that there are white supremacist Hispanics. But they don't tend to look like my client, do they?
Objection form.
I don't know.
Okay. But as far as about, you remember we looked at earlier, we saw about how the idea here was you had information on the shooting and you were going to show the lies of the mainstream media. But when it comes to the identity of the shooter, you were incorrect about that. The media wasn't lying, right?
All the other information was correct, as you listed, as far as the age, the name, person, and the image was incorrectly sourced from other reporters before us. Which is
I'm not talking about what you did. I'm talking about when it comes to the shooter's identity, the media didn't lie. The mainstream media outlets that you identified, they didn't lie.
Well,
Objection form.
Right?
I believe they were misleading. Yeah.
In what way were they misleading?
In saying white supremacist and then abandoning the story once they realized that the person was Hispanic. Even if you may say so, but the media decided that it wasn't a story they wanted to cover as much.
All right.
Because the media has an idea of what a white supremacist looks like, I would imagine.
Right. Well, I want to. Right. And he didn't look like my client, did he?
Objection form.
A white supremacist wouldn't look like someone who looks Hispanic.
Right. I'm talking about the actual shooter. And I know
You did not have to do that, but I appreciate it. Thanks for having content the ladies like. I don't know, meter, mystery, the mind tickling suspense that so many of the ladies like. Thanks for having me on your show. Loving this format.
You got to
Thank you
sound
so
it.
much.
You got to sound it out. I didn't want to say the word because I don't want to get you flagged.
You can say all of the words on my channel. I just showed a mass shooting. This is not getting monetized.
How dare you? How double dog dare you?
And the doggos appreciate it too.
Who's a good puppy?
Like, seriously, when people say things like self-delete and like, all that, it just makes me want to kill myself. So feel free to use the words.
Okay.
People use fake words on the internet.
Yeah, it's an irritant to me too, but I'm trying not to shoot myself in the foot channel growth wise. But it seems like my channel has stunted at like 1,890. So maybe 2 fingers straight up and let's go First Amendment.
Might as well. Well, what changed my mind on that, this is totally off subject, but when I found myself using the word sexual assault for somebody who was violently raped, it really takes away. Like, a sexual assault is a different thing, and it takes away from the experience that happened to that woman, and I decided I was just not gonna play that game, especially when talking about victims, and I think it really brings down the what happened to these people, So, anyway. Sorry, I forgot we're on your channel right now too, but we did just show a mass shooting on your channel, so you're probably not monetizing this one.
know that you're hesitant to call him a neo-Nazi shooter, but I'm going to call a chair a chair. He's a neo-Nazi shooter, right? And that neo-Nazi, he doesn't look like my client.
Objection form.
Mauricio Garcia, the neo-Nazi shooter?
Right. Doesn't look like my client.
I don't recall how much they look alike. Okay. Again, it's a little confusing because there's 2 Mauricio Garcias.
All right. The media was accurate that the shooter was Mauricio Garcia, the mainstream media outlets that you cited. They were accurate about that, right?
Yes.
They were accurate that he was 33 years old.
That's my understanding.
They were accurate that he had multiple neo-Nazi tattoos on his body.
That's my understanding.
They were right that he had a vest that was for right-wing death squad. Correct?
I don't recall that, but if you say so.
They were correct that he had a social media presence where he expressed neo-Nazi views.
I don't recall that, but if you say so.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what they might have said about the shooter's identity, if anything, that was bullshit.
Yeah, well, as you said, the shooting happened, I believe, on the 6th. And the 7th. That's when the information came out. It's my understanding that the media was running with the narrative of white supremacists before the 7th. And certainly running with the narrative that white supremacy is the greatest domestic terror threat in the United States. And certainly pushing the narrative of gun control. And so the bullshit there is because a black officer, who, if my recollection is correct, was either off duty or responding to a call at chance, shot the man with his own firearm that the same media said would need to be controlled to prevent mass shootings.
That has nothing to do with who the shooter was.
You asked what the media was presenting that I believed was bullshit.
Now, actually, what I asked you was, when it comes to the reporting on the shooter's identity, when you said who the shooter was, a lot of what the media is telling you is bullshit. What were they telling you that was bullshit about who the shooter was?
Objection form.
Again, you showed a brief clip. I believe the entire show was devoted to the narrative and clips from the media and what they were presenting and why it was misleading. As far as the shooter on the 7th, if the articles that you bring up are accurate, then it seems they got the name and age correct.
I mean, they got everything correct, right? What didn't they get correct?
Again, they were misleading in the other information surrounding it.
About who the shooter was?
You asked me what I believe was bullshit from the media.
Again, I'm going to tell you again, what I'm asking you is when you said who the shooter was, a lot of what the media is telling you is bullshit. When it comes to who the shooter was, there was nothing that was bullshit, was there?
I don't know about their, again, initial reporting, which would have been the 6th. And that's what people believe, right? If something is front page center news, and we know this, how the media works, front page center news, white supremacists without that information, a narrative, gun control before the body is assumed room temperature, the information comes out the next day, and that goes up in an article that people don't read to the same degree. People still believe the preconceived notions from when the media was initially reporting.
But okay, let's go ahead and assume for me. I'm going to tell you, this ain't real, what I'm about to tell you, right? I'm pretty up to speed on the media coverage, but let's just go ahead and assume that your understanding of it is accurate. That on May 7th, the media reported that he was a white supremacist. And that was the only fact they reported. They didn't report that his name was Mauricio Garcia or that he was Hispanic, all right? Assume for me that happened. It didn't.
Or May 6th, yeah.
Or May 6th, right? Good. I can tell you the shooter's name was not known on May 6th. There was no information about
not the shooter, but the idea of a white supremacist shooter, yes.
Right, not that either, right? None of that even happened, right? But go ahead and assume for me that it did. Go ahead and assume for me that the media reported that the shooter had white supremacist leanings. That's not bullshit, right? That's 100% accurate. Right?
If they reported that he had white supremacist leanings, Mauricio Garcia on the 7th, sure.
Right. So again, about the shooter's identity, about who he was, there's nothing they said was bullshit, right?
I disagree. As it relates to the story at large, I disagree. I think a very important.
Not asking you about. I know that we've been talking about this idea that there was a gun control narrative and that there was a cop who shot him. So therefore that invalidates gun control in some way because there was a cop with a gun. So, I mean, I'm not sure who's trying to regulate cops having guns or how that ties in, but I get that that's a whole separate discussion, right? But what I'm saying is in terms of the media's identity of the shooter, the details that it reported about who the shooter was and what his background was, what his belief systems were, none of that was bullshit and never was, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true.
All right, so again, trying to focus down so you can tell me, because this is my chance to get that.
I was just thrown because he said you didn't know anyone who was trying to regulate cops with guns and it was an off-duty officer with an AR-15. I find that difficult to believe that you are not aware of that. So I thought this was taking place in good faith.
No, and I mean, I am unaware, but are you saying that there's some sort of legislation in the works to make it so that off-duty officers don't have access to their weapons when they're off-duty or something like that?
Objection form.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm being serious, man. I don't know about any legislation like that.
Are you not aware of the movement for non-lethal weapons, including tasers, to be used by officers? I mean,
no,
yes,
I don't believe it's so.
And of course, whether you're on duty or off duty, those weapons, were being included in a list of weapons that should be a part of gun control, which was used to stop the Hispanic shooter who was presented as white supremacist. There were important components to the story. And I believe the media was being misleading about that.
Extremely fascinating line of inquiry that we could get into on all of these issues that If we were in any other situation, I would love to talk to you about the vagaries of gun control and all of that, but not terribly relevant to what I want to ask you about today. Right. And so what I'm really focusing in on is the idea of the shooter's identity, the details of the shooter's identity, his belief systems, his backgrounds, everything about who he is. Right. I believe you told me that when I said that none of that was bullshit, you said you didn't agree with that. And I'm trying to figure out, because it's my chance to ask you questions today, is if you can tell me what the mainstream media organizations that you cited got wrong about the shooter's identity, background, and belief systems.
Objection 4.
And my answer is that those are not mere vagaries when they were the primary driving narrative of the story. That's why the story was being covered. And that's why the other information there was correct, and there was a mistake on the image, as we've already discussed. But I don't believe that those were vagaries. Gun control, white supremacy, black officer who's a hero, I believe those are very relevant, and they were being bypassed by and large by the media. That was the reason for the story.
I agree that white supremacy is a key element to what we're talking about. I'm not sure that gun control is, but we'll just disagree. We'll agree to disagree on it. But what I'm asking you, and again, I'm just trying to get a straight answer to this, to know if there is or there isn't. Was there anything that the mainstream media said about the shooter's identity, who he was, his background or belief system, that was bullshit?
Objection 4.
I don't recall beyond the examples that I've given you.
And
And it
what
is my recollection that on May 6th, they were already labeling it another white supremacist massacre. Before
Let's say they were. Let's say they were. And they weren't, but let's say they were. That's not wrong. That's not bullshit. Right?
Disagree.
Let's get back to that issue of, I think this gets back to the idea of you're hesitant to call this person a neo-Nazi mass shooter. Right? Remember I was talking about that?
I do.
All right. So it's not enough that he has neo-Nazi tattoos. It's not enough that he had a social media presence that had neo-Nazi beliefs. What would it take for you to be able to call somebody a neo-Nazi?
Objection 4.
Probably someone being in an official neo-Nazi organization and typically white, as far as presenting it to the public in relation to the threat that was presented. White domestic terrorism is the term that was used. So white neo-Nazi would be relevant to domestic terrorism, which I also disagree with.
All right. So to be a neo-Nazi, you have to be white and you have to be a member of a neo-Nazi organization.
Objection
Anything
4.
else?
Objection 4.
In general, that would be a good start.
That's true, even though, as we just discussed, there are Hispanic neo-Nazis.
In general, yes.
Let me bring up, I want to talk to you a little bit about the series of videos.
Is my camera kind of jacked up? Looks like I'm, there we go. There, it's more centered. I just saw a chat here. I wanted to. The hell was man? What is going on in my brain right now? I get distracted.
Maybe lack of sleep from streaming all night.
No, I actually feel really well rested. What in the heck was I just thinking? Oh, who the hell's on trial right now for white supremacy? The white supremacist that did a mass shooting, or Steven Crowder?
Apparently, Steven Crowder is, according to this line of questioning, anyway.
I mean, what the French, dude? Like, who's on trial?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, he's being deep. Well, I guess technically, Steven would be if it goes to a civil lawsuit.
It is,
I
but
mean,
not for being a white supremacist, for showing the wrong photo is what he's on trial for.
But this whole white supremacist, I think he's trying to get. Look at how angry he looks right there in that freeze frame.
I'm pretty good at pausing.
Yeah, he looks really angry though. He's like, "You're really getting on my nerves with this line of questioning."
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I'm chewing. Sorry.
Videos you did on this. Let's bring up tab 5.
Mark, just we're renaming this 4.
Oh, that's right. This is tab 4, and we'll offer this as exhibit 4. Now, this is, I was directed to a page that I know you don't operate, or let me make sure, let's get that on the record first. We have a page here that's...
I think this is where he gets in trouble, because you can see he used the guy's face in the thumbnail. Basically saying, yeah, this is the dude, you know. So, thumbnails matter, I guess.
mgtow.tv. You see that?
Yes, I see it in the corner there.
Okay. You familiar with that abbreviation?
I'm not, no.
You ever heard of men going their own way?
No.
It's like an incel thing. I'm not sure if you know what incel is.
I'm familiar with the term incel.
Okay, this is men who are anti-feminist and separatist and that sort of thing. But I noticed that there is a Stephen Crowder account on this website. Does that have anything to do with your company or you?
No.
Objection form.
Okay, you understand, as we were talking earlier, that people republish your stuff on the internet all the time.
Of course I can.
Wait a minute. This isn't even his thumbnail. I mean, this might be a copy of his thumbnails. I'm not sure. But what they're showing right now in this deposition for a legal lawsuit is some other website that's stealing his content and reposting it. That's what they're bringing into evidence at this moment. This is crazy.
It's not actually the worst thing in the world for you because that might direct people to your website to buy your stuff, things like that. There's some benefit to you from that. You would agree?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Now on your YouTube page,
I'd rather people not rip and upload our content.
Okay. On your YouTube page now, the videos, if you'll see here in the top middle, there's videos that have pictures of my client. You see what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Those videos no longer exist on the Stephen Crowder YouTube or Rumble pages, right?
Objection form.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And so part of the reason I'm showing you this is because here we have the two episodes that you had done on it in order, right? I think what you'll agree with me is that if you look at the top two middle videos, those are actually the same video. You agree? That's what it looks like?
Those are the same video?
That's what it looks like to me. I haven't watched every minute of it, but they have basically the same time, same title, very similar thumbnail. I'm assuming that's the same episode. You didn't do two episodes about my client, right?
I couldn't answer my first time seeing it. One looks like a different time code from the other, actually. One,
yeah.
125.10, 125.21. So I don't know. Again, I'm not familiar with this channel.
Yeah. Okay. But we do know that the next day we see at the top left, it also has your next day episode, right? This one that was entitled "Are Intelligence Agencies Involved in the Texas Mass Shooting?" You see that?
I see what you're showing me. Yes.
Okay. So in the middle picture videos, we see that those episodes were the ones in which, or episode was the one in which you used an image of my client as the shooter, right?
It would appear so.
Now the episode the next day, what you're showing there, that's a picture of the real shooter there with his Nazi tattoos, right?
To the best of my recollection.
All right. And once it became clear to you that there was images out there of this person with neo-Nazi tattoos, your next report was to say that intelligence agencies might be involved in this shooting, right?
Objection form.
I don't recall.
Would anybody be surprised if that turned out to be true 20 years from now when all the facts are released? Would anybody really be surprised? I wouldn't be. And I don't think he was saying that they were involved in such a way like I don't even think that's what he was saying in his episode. I think he was saying that they called in the FBI to research this guy, you know?
Well, to your point, how many times have we heard this person was known to the FBI for like years? Sometimes.
Exactly. That happened in that Florida, that Valentine's Day Florida school shooting with David Hogg. I can't remember the name of the school right now. Marjorie Taylor Douglas or something school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were known to the FBI for years. Groomed, coerced, indoctrinated.
Exactly.
Massaged, manipulated.
Yeah.
Finessed.
Weapons bought for.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean the Daniel defense that the one guy had that.
Yeah, that was in Texas too.
I mean, it's insane, dude.
That was a nice gun, by the way.
Yeah.
I'd like to own one of those.
I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, where'd this kid get this kind of money for? I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, walks like a duck.
The point is, I don't even think that's what Stephen Crowder was saying, although he's said stuff like that before. I don't think that's what he was saying in this case. I think when he said that the agencies are involved, I think he meant to research this guy, not before it happened. I think he was saying after it happened, you know?
No, Katie, apparently vintage video and TV. He might have been like timed out on my channel, so I guess he's in yours now. But yeah, this absolute brainiac. Listen, I don't do verbal combat with unarmed combatants. It just wouldn't be fair. I'm just letting you know. Yes, all I did was dig latrines in the Army because that's all I could do. You're right. You win. You're awesome.
I think he's actually been in my chat before. I think he's just messing with you, maybe, or maybe
No. He
meeting
wants
from
to
before,
debate me. He
or-
wants to debate me on the importance of and the glory of communism versus
okay.
capitalism.
Well, everyone's welcome on my channel, so as long as you don't
hate-
break the rules.
He hates America. He's an Australian communist. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. No, like no joke. I mean, he's harmless. Rats to the moon and him are going back and forth. It's kind of hilarious.
Okay, have fun, guys.
She likes to play with her food.
Have you watched the main night
like
show
a kitty
recently?
cat, just batting it around.
Like in preparation for this deposition?
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay. Would you disagree with me that once all this came out about the shooter's pictures of the shooter's actual body, that once that happened, you started suggesting that this incident was some sort of psyop or psychological operation?
Objection form.
I don't believe that I don't recall referring to it as a psyop.
Okay. Do you have any idea why you thought intelligence agencies might be involved? Is that something you thought?
I don't recall, but it wouldn't be surprising.
Explain that to me. It wouldn't be surprising for U.S. intelligence agencies to be involved in this neo-Nazi mass shooting? That's not surprising?
I would imagine that intelligence agencies would be involved with any type of mass shooting that would require the use of intelligence.
Wait, you're meaning that what you're saying right now is you think intelligence agencies would be involved after the fact in some way, like investigating it?
They
Objection
could.
form.
Could be.
That's not what this show is about, right? You understand that.
I don't recall. Is it something like the Hunter Biden laptop story?
I don't think so.
FBI reaching out to big tech, telling them it was Russian discernment? Because I know we've talked about those where
You had an interesting question in your chat. Let me try to find it again. I think it was Kisker.
This one?
Vensrath. Would you be against gun owners? You better get your nose off that plate. You better lay down. Down. Platz. Good boy. All right.
Ah, your dogs speak German too, so do mine.
Jawohl, actually.
Yeah.
So where is it? Right there. Okay. Would you be against gun owners going through a paid mental evaluation? Do they pay you to go through? I'll volunteer. To ensure that they are okay to handle them done yearly.
Yes, I would be against that because it is a constitutional right.
And I think it would be, well, so here's the interesting thing. I believe there was a guy who worked for Stalin in the day who said, show me the man and I'll show you the crime.
Yep.
And when you give the ability for someone to be perhaps bought and paid for, only the right people, according to whoever's in charge, would be considered mentally competent to own guns, and all the quote unquote wrong people would not. And if you buy off enough of these shrinks, right? Yeah, you could have a very horrible imbalance before you know it.
Who's vetting the shrinks? Whoever's in power at that very moment? Is that how it works?
Who vets the vetter, vetting the vetters, the vets, the vetters, that vets the vet. I mean, it's a merry-go-round.
Yeah, I would definitely be against that, mainly because it is a constitutionally protected right. I'm not against getting a driver's license because driving a car is not constitutionally protected. It's not a protected activity. No matter how hard the sovereign citizens want to say it is, it's just simply not.
I don't remember this one though.
Let me see if I can refresh your memory. You know what Bellingcat is, right?
Beg your pardon?
You know what Bellingcat? You know what that is?
Bedlam cat?
Bellingcat. BELINGCAT.
BEOING cat?
Let me try it this way. You know somebody discovered the social media profile of the shooter. You know that happened.
Sounds like he doesn't have a clue what you're talking about, dude.
Do you know where you got that picture of the swastika and the SS bolts?
Objection form.
I don't recall where the staff would have gotten that picture.
Does the name Arik Toller, a researcher from Bellingcat, does that ring a bell to you?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. Do you remember on this May 9th show that you said there was some confusion over which was the real photo of the shooter?
I vaguely recall, I believe Gerald saying that, and believe that was mentioned.
All right, let's make it clear. You have never told your audience that you showed an incorrect picture on your show.
Objection form.
Again, I don't recall. What you're saying sounds correct, that someone said there was confusion about the image.
Right, but you know, one of the things that when I first reached out to you on behalf of my client that I asked, could you make a retraction and tell your audience that that was false? And you've never done that, have you?
I don't believe I've ever communicated with you before today.
Well, I've certainly written you a letter.
I don't believe we've ever communicated, you and I, before today.
Huh, that's interesting. So
have you
yeah,
spoken before today?
We've never spoken, no.
Have we emailed?
This whole odyssey began when I wrote a letter on May 22nd, 2023, addressed to you and your company that first informed you of all of this and then asked you to make a correction. Are you aware of that?
Objection form.
I'm just trying to, so you're saying that I responded to you directly?
I don't think you ever did. No, I don't think you ever responded to me.
Okay.
Objection form.
So I don't believe you and I have ever communicated before today.
Well, I mean, I would say sending you a letter makes it a communication. I would say that, yes. So what I'm asking you is,
recall ever myself reading a letter from you. I don't.
Okay. And so, in
I
other
would
words,
think an organization like Steven Crowder's, if he gets a letter from a lawyer, it goes directly to his legal department. I assume he doesn't even see it. So, but I do think he's wrong if it's true that he never offered a retraction, never came up on screen and said, hey, by the way, on yesterday's show or whatever, whatever show it was, a week ago show, whenever he found out the correct information, said, hey, we showed a picture of this guy. That was the wrong guy. He should have done that, in my opinion.
I think he would have had it came into his purview. Like, at what point in time did it come into his purview, right? So that doesn't sound like something he wouldn't do. He seems, I mean, like, so maybe the letter went to his lawyer. Was there a failure at his lawyer? Is that why Bill Richmond's no longer his lawyer, allegedly, in Minecraft? I mean, could it have been a dereliction of duty?
Could be.
That's the problem when you become too familiar with your, they start slacking, who knows? I don't know.
Not making a retraction, was that an intentional choice on your part?
Objection form.
No, because I don't recall anything that you're discussing. You sending me a letter. I don't recall that letter or that request being made from you. The only thing I recall is, again, my staff saying there was some confusion and that being addressed on the show.
Right. And part of that show was, in fact, to express your doubts that these images of the shooter with neo-Nazi tattoos were real, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. You understand that your incorrect coverage of the Allen shooting, it can really mess up people's sense of reality. You get that?
Objection form.
No.
All right. What can? When it comes to the decision to show this photo, you believe you did anything wrong to our client, Mauricio Garcia, who had nothing to do with this?
I do believe that reporting on the image, which was incorrect, was wrong. Yeah, that was a mistake.
And you understand that identifying someone as a neo-Nazi mass murderer when they're not is a damaging thing to do to them.
Objection form.
Referring to someone who's clearly dead, known nationally, who was a white supremacist shooter, if it existed in a vacuum, sure. Just accusing someone of being a
Did you get a new membership on your channel? Did I miss that? Oh, well, you know what we have to do.
Yeah, very happy. We got News Now, Enemy. What is it? Enemy?
Enemy.
I love that.
Yep.
That's one of your regs, huh?
It is.
Right.
That
Well,
is my real life brother.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, well, listen, if you got at least the second tier, you'll have access to all my cooking and homesteading stuff. So if you got the $4.99 at least, I do appreciate it. Welcome. And there's going to be lots of homesteading and cooking videos coming out.
Awesome.
So, and we just had a live, well, you saw it, right? The
yeah,
live,
well, I clicked in a little bit, yeah.
The lasagna. It was delicious.
It looked good.
It was amazing.
Okay. In deciding to show my client's photo, you did not act as carefully as you should have. All right?
I don't know the process that taking place from the staff before it got to me, but no, there was a mistake made there.
Well,
and we do our best to, that's why the references are all made publicly available, because mistakes are often made. You have an admonish button on the show. for when mistakes are made live. It's a very important component of the show.
I'm not sure if I know, though, whether you believe, whether you acted as carefully as you should have.
No, I told you a mistake was made. It was the wrong image. That's a mistake.
Yes. That's yes, you did not act as carefully as you should have.
Objection form.
The staff and whatever processes took place were not performed correctly, and a mistake was made.
And you're responsible for making sure those processes are in place. It's your business, right?
Objection form.
I do my best. It's a company of around 30-something people. So.
Are you saying that like it's a big company?
No, I'm saying that I can't be doing every job at all times, and we have practices or methods of approaching stories that usually do a very good job, actually, as far as the track record. And if they don't, the references are publicly available as a fail-safe because we believe in transparency. And mistakes definitely can be made. And in this case, the mistake was definitely made.
And you are the one responsible for creating and enforcing the policies and requirements for your talk show.
Objection form.
No.
I'm confused. If you don't think you have any responsibility to run your business in a way that has policies in place to safeguard and guard against false information?
That's not what I said.
Well, so you are responsible for doing those things, for making sure that those policies are in place.
You said enforcing the policies.
Right. I would hope so, right? I mean, well, actually, that's an interesting thing you bring up. Was anybody fired for this?
Objection form.
I don't recall. I know there are people who no longer work with the company who worked in that department. I don't recall if there would have been this incident, but there's turnover with things like that all the time.
Well, but sitting here today, do you think you took any disciplinary action against anybody for this?
Objection form. Are you asking Stephen or Louder with Crowder?
I would assume that he would have to do. I mean, he's Stephen Crowder of Louder with Crowder, right?
No, actually, I'm not in charge of hiring or terminating employees.
Okay. Do you have policies in place for that?
Objection form.
I believe there are policies in place for that, as far as hiring and terminating.
Okay. And pursuant to those policies of your company, was anybody fired or terminated or disciplined in any way for this?
Again, I don't recall. I wouldn't have been the one terminating anybody.
All right. I remember you saying earlier that we take care to be as careful as possible. But here, you weren't careful as possible, were you?
Objection form.
It seems that there was a breakdown in the process or communications where a mistake was made. So
you did not, before you got on your show, before you showed this image to the world, you did not investigate the truth or falsity of the photo before you showed it.
Objection form.
Incorrect.
Well, from what I understand, you relied on the fact that it had been reported by a source you found suitable, right? You did no independent investigation of the photo yourself.
Myself, personally?
Correct.
No, members of the staff of the company who are tasked with doing that obviously did so in error.
And you would agree that this photo should have been investigated more fully before it was put on the air?
I would agree with that being the case if not reporting on someone else's reporting and pointing out to people the source of the reporting. That is something that we have to do very often.
I want to make sure I get this, to make sure I understand this. It is your belief that if you have a media organization, Today News Africa, we'll call that a media organization for these purposes, right? If you have this media organization and you find them suitable, that is all the fact checking you need to do.
What do you mean we'll call them a media organization for these purposes? They obviously are a media organization. They report, they have a website that reports news, and they're White House credentialed apparently. So they are a media organization.
Right. So the interesting thing too, I'm kind of glad you paused, because what I picked up on too is the fact that he's not the hirer or the firer.
Yeah, no.
That's smart.
I'm sure with 30 some odd employees, I'm sure he has a HR department.
I mean,
you would have to.
That's not to say that he doesn't have sway with the HR department.
Oh, for sure he does.
So smart. Yeah.
Yeah, he could fire anybody, I'm sure.
But this goes to show you, dude, it's all the honeymoon. You know, oh, it's great. Oh, you're an employee. Oh, everything's great. The one time you ask somebody to come in, work a little harder than they are working, and then things get bitter, and then next thing you know, you're having to stay on someone's ass. I can't imagine like it. you know, it kind of reminds me of that quote in the Jurassic Park where it's like, oh yeah, in the beginning it's oohs and ahs, then it's screaming and panic.
Yep.
You know, that's the same with every business. When in the beginning it's like, oh, this is great. We're gonna be
Exactly.
great friends. We're gonna make lots of money. Next thing you know, like you stab me in the back. You're a piece of, you know.
That's why I'm always very,
Mhm.
I'm very like tenuous about going into business with friends.
Yeah, it's
I
very yeah.
especially when money's involved. It's very like it's a big decision. It's more than just taking a job. Like
I
you got to be very wary with friends and family for sure.
would agree.
Rats to the Moon says she made several friends over on my chat. So hopefully you come back sometime and join us. My people are pretty good people, I think.
Yeah,
I'm a little biased.
she was beaten vintage like a rented mule for a while there. It was
That's
pretty
allowed.
priceless. She's
It's-
like, it was funny. She's like, wait, did Gia say you weren't really quite a man, or did I say you weren't really quite a man? It's something like a woman telling a man he's not even a man. It just cuts you right to the bone. But
and you can put the image that they say is a mass murderer on the air to your audience.
Objection
That's right.
form.
All those prereq, no.
Okay. So what else has to happen before you can do it?
Before you can do what?
Before you can put that picture out to people.
Again, if it's
Let me just start back. You got a website and it's saying this is the shooter. No sourcing, just this is the shooter. And you got it on a website. And I guess you find that website suitable. Is that enough, or what else has to happen before you can put that out to people?
no, again, it was saying according to this source, this is the shooter, and there were other, as I recall, other existing sources.
So there just has to be some other existing source.
Objection form.
I'm just trying to get them all. So what we have is
That would be a minimum that there would often have to be at least more than one place that is seen. It's not the only process.
so we have in an article, it's used in an article by someone purporting to be a media organization. And then if you see it somewhere else, then we're done. We can put it on the air. Nothing else needs to happen.
I didn't say nothing else needs to happen.
What else needs to happen?
Certainly, if this is something that is novel or new, you would have to cite the source and say according to them, which is very important, especially when there's original reporting that's not your own, only to give credit. Sometimes there are investigative journalists who are the only sources of information that exist. And you have to give them credit and say according to this person, because that's the information that you have available at the time.
All right, so now let's put that on.
And then make it publicly available.
So as long as you have a website that covers news that you find suitable, uses the image, and then you see it somewhere else, and as long as you say that you got it from the source you got it from, Today News Africa, that's all we need to do. Now we're done. We can put it on the air, right?
Objection form.
Something else. What else needs to happen?
It depends on the story.
What needed to happen here?
I couldn't tell you what needed to happen here at that moment in time.
That's a shame, because that is literally what I came to ask you about. But I think that will call it a day for today. Thank you for your time, Mr. Crowder, and see you soon. All right, we're ready to
We're
go
off the record. I'm sorry. Off the record at 3:41 p.m.
That was it. that was the deposition. I saw lots of things in that. First of all, that lawyer, man, somebody said that he sounds like he has a punchable face. I agree. He does sound like he has a punchable face for sure.
I thought I found I'm shaking up my my cocoa coffee. I think the cocoa went to the bottom, most of it. Yeah, I found the little parting salvo to the side. We'll see you soon. Almost like an intimation of a threat, like, you know, I mean, maybe not a physical, but it's like you're effed.
And they just went over how he's never had communication with this man before. And the lawyer's acting like that they've had all sorts of communications, and didn't I ask you this? Didn't I ask you that? And Steven Crowder's like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. This is the first time I've talked to you today, right now.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about being an online creator. Even someone with such a small sub count as mine, I've got people all the time like emailing me, "Why did you ignore me?" And I'm like, I didn't even see the chat. I'm like, why did you delete my message? And then I find out that YouTube sometimes holds messages for me to approve, and I didn't even know it. They're like, "Oh, you deleted. Why are you afraid of it? There was nothing even bad there." And 90% of the messages, I'm like, why the heck did they hold that message?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not holding any of your messages. I mean, half the time I'm on StreamYards or something like that, I can't see if one of my mods even timed somebody out.
Yep.
Or they're like, oh, you don't like free speech. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's why I had to limit some of my mods wrenches and stuff, because some of them were getting a little too Machiavellian, which is kind of fun. We can play a little ping pong, but
this is why I don't want to wrench in anybody's chat. I don't need that kind of response. I have enough responsibility in my life. I don't need to be modding your chat too, whoever you are. Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm not so great at multitasking. B, I usually am in your channel because I like your content and I'm paying attention to it. Thus, I'm often missing the chat in your chat as well as my own, because I'm focused on what I'm saying, or I'm focused on the guest I'm interviewing. And, I don't really have a whole lot of time to, it doesn't mean that I don't want to engage. Can you imagine having like 500,000 people with that? Just even in slow motion mode, it's just tearing by.
You can't watch the chat at that point. You have to just ignore the chat. It can't exist for you. You just got to do what you're going to do, and then
look at like Tim Pool, read super chats at the end and pick some random ones.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so interesting to me. There's a beauty to being small, though, right? Isn't there? There's like
I kind of like smaller chats better, where you can engage or whatever. But yeah, somebody was saying, I was in K-First chat yesterday. They're like, why isn't Katie Zed a mod? Because I don't want to be. I told them specifically, do not make me a mod. I don't want to be a mod on your channel.
Well, I got a guy in who'd be an awesome mod, except for as a mod, he can't block people. Now, this guy's a very Christian-minded person. He eye gate, ear gate filter, and he wants to be able to block people. And as a mod, you can't block people.
Yeah, you can only time people out, but you can time them out for a day.
No, I'm not talking like hide. I'm talking you can't block anyone.
Yeah.
Like if someone comes in and is doing disgusting things as a mod, you're not able to block them because you're a mod in someone's channel.
Yep. That's
I didn't
true.
know that. So
yeah, you can only time out for however many seconds or whatever.
Or you can hide. No, well, block is on Google, so maybe there's a definition. I'm talking block.
Yeah. If you want to block somebody, you have to do it, or your managing moderator can, or you can.
Right, but you have to go into Google account, and that's what I'm saying. He wants to be able to block them like they don't even exist. Like I don't see their content.
I think you can do it from Studio, from YouTube Studio.
I don't know. I haven't blocked anyone. I'm pretty sure they said you have to go to the Google account and do it that way.
Maybe, I don't know. I've never done that.
Because YouTube's owned by Google, and it's in order to block them from all their socks and stuff like that. If you block their Google account, that stops all the secondary, tertiary, weird sock accounts that they have.
Gotcha.
Anyway, we get off into the weeds. That was interesting.
I thought you would find it interesting. That's why I thought of you to do this episode.
I think the beginning I found to be there was a lot more maneuvering going on in the beginning. There was kind of like a weird tango waltz thing going on between the questioner and the questioned.
Yeah.
I think towards the middle it was more trying to get a response or trying to provoke him to get to misstep,
trip him up. Yeah.
Right. And then towards the end it was just kind of being mean spirited, I guess, kind of almost like
literally calling him a white supremacist.
Yes, and very accusatory.
Exactly.
I guess it's not a crime, but
to be a white supremacist or to accuse somebody.
To accuse someone or to even like hint around, that you're accusing someone of it. I mean, which is funny because some people you can do it all day long and twice on Sundays too, and other people seem to be a protected class where you're not allowed to even criticize anything they do.
Exactly.
But I don't. To me that Nero's like, I know someone like that.
Yeah.
I know who you speak of, GS, with a smiley face. Great mod, by the way. Great friend. Great tech support guy. I can't. If you see GM Nero in your chat, there'll definitely be some very good, interesting points that he'll make.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Come subscribe over here. I'm going to put your link in the chat one more time too. I think when I made the stream, I forgot to put it in the description, but I'll add it after the fact.
Yeah, well, your link is pinned at the top of my chat. I'm just saying. I mean, it's not a competition. I'm just saying.
Well, you know what? When I have the YouTube chat up, like other than just the restream chat, it lags. So I've already closed it. I'm not going to pull it back up right now.
So this
We're
time we
almost
got.
done.
So I got I gave the question, do you think the lawyer sounds like a Soros fan? And 61% said yes, and the communists said no. 39 said no. I think Taipan
I
or
think he may
Vintage,
have been funded by Soros.
well, which would make him a fan, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you like it when your boss writes your check and you cash it and it doesn't bounce. That makes
Yep.
me a fan.
Exactly.
I wonder what's going to happen. Have you heard of? I don't want to go too far afield, but have you seen what's been going on the borders and all over in California? They got the Marines deployed in California and
Do
on the
they?
border.
I don't really pay attention to the news. It's horrible, but
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they got Marines in parts of and then down on the border, they're having military units
I
lined
did
up.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, just balls deep on the border there. And I'm told,
Imagine that, our military protecting our own country for one
and,
time.
and you know
Imagine
what's
that.
and you know what's interesting, right? Like
Yeah.
when you sign up to join your military, join the military to serve your country.
Mm.
How awesome would it be if you could choose, I want to be continental United States, the borders or the interior and nothing else?
Yeah, those people join the Coast Guard.
No, Coast Guard goes all over the place. Coast Guard sees more action in peacetime than someone like me would see deployed to a war.
Really?
Oh, the Coast Guard
I
sees
just
a
assumed I just
crap
thought
ton.
the Coast Guard was here patrolling our coasts.
Well, they probably don't go really into international waters,
Yeah.
perhaps. I maybe I'm speaking out of turn on that, but I do know that they see a lot of action for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see our borders are being protected. Now the question in my mind, I'm so conspiratorial minded. I'm like, are those to keep us in?
I don't think so.
Is
I
what's coming
mean,
next going to be horrible, or are they keeping us from fleeing our own country? I mean,
that's a little more conspiracy minded than I am even.
yeah, I've seen a thing or two.
Yeah. Now you got me
Also,
thinking.
Black Scout rifle. I'm sorry, I'm chewing in the microphone. Cheesy post, because otherwise, if I don't eat them, then I'd be lame. Black Scout rifle just put out a video showing that they're in Indiana, which is the state just north of me.
Mm-hmm.
They got UN
In Indiana. What for?
Apparently, they're there building. They got the blue hats, wearing camo. There's a construction guy had his phone and he was going over his shoulder and he was showing. I can bring. I don't know if I can share
Indiana?
Here. Well, they're building a big, what looks to be like a data repository, like for the AI for the Stargate stuff. I'm telling you, bro, it's coming, man. Every little aspect of our lives is going to be. Woo! I don't like what's coming. I think we're not going to be very free soon.
I mean, hopefully, with the way the selection just went, it'll stave it off for a few years at least.
I'm hopeful, but if you look at, I'm wondering just how much damage has been done to the infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I mean the infrastructure of personnel to our country, the rubber stamp, the stopgap, the people that say yes or no. Are they Soros plants? Are they alphabet soup group mafia types? Look at the air traffic controller situations.
Yep.
Planes falling out of the sky because DEI is turning into DIE, ESQ stuff. So I want to have you. All right. So here's a future topic for you that you might find interesting. And I know you got some notes and you want to get into. Have you heard of Robin DiAngelo?
I've heard the name. I can't place it right now.
She's an author. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And she wrote. It's called White Fragility.
Oh,
now you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I actually, as a joke, I think I have that book on my bookshelf because somebody gave it to me as a joke.
Can you grab it and can you put it up so that people can see it?
Let me see if I have it. Hold on one second. I'm gonna.
Or you can just share. You can share a screen. Yeah, if you have like a, what do you call it? Now I want you to take.
It's a different. This is Ibram Kendi, Be Anti-Racist. Somebody gave me that.
Yeah. Okay. So
It's a different book. I was thinking of something else.
It has to be The White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Can you bring that on the can you look that up and just bring up an image of that book
Wait, what's it called again?
and share screen? It's called White Fragility.
Okay.
And it should be by Robin ROBIN D' Angelo, whatever. Now try to big screen that book, and I want you to notice something very subtle, but very obvious for those that are looking past their goldfish level of attention span. Remember when I said everything's subtext, context, or pretext?
Hold on, I'll make it big.
If you got. Okay, now try to get her, zoom in on her name. All right. No, go down. You had it right there. Robbing the Anglo-Saxon.
Oh.
That can't be her name, dude. Have you ever seen a picture of her?
No.
Yeah, she's like Mr. Ruby, who was supposed to be Irish, but it was Rubinstein. Yeah, she's not an Anglo. That's not her last name. She's not Italian, and that's got to be a pen name. Robbing the Anglo, robbing the Anglo-Saxon. We're Anglo-Saxon.
That's
White fragility.
That's a little more conspiracy.
Bro,
minded than I am.
Telling you, Katie.
It's a little more than I'm used to.
Pay attention. Pay attention. What's the title of the book?
Give me 1 second. Let's
You
do
saw
this
it,
real
right?
quick.
All right, we're gonna do
Yeah, white fragility.
Yeah. So it's targeting white people, telling you you're not allowed to complain. You're not allowed to defend yourself, because if you defend yourself, you're too fragile. Right?
Waffle Salter is thanking all veterans. I will make sure that this $50 gets into Mr. Zed's hands so he can buy himself something nice. Which usually doesn't happen to my super chat money. That's my money.
So, and we also have $5 from King Bluto on my side. He says for more of your cheesy poofs. Thank you. I can buy almost 2 full bags with that.
Cheesy poofs.
I'm on the last little bit right here, guys. And these are so good. They're so delicious. Matter of fact, I'll probably go tomorrow. So yeah, I know it seems conspiratorial, but do you remember what I said? That when you look at a movie set, everything that you have in your background, you put there for a reason. It might have personal sentimental value. It might be to send a message, like the little on air button thing there, your skeleton, whatever that is. What is that? Like Grateful Dead or something?
No, it says coffee because murder is wrong. And one of my tenants actually found out that I have a crime YouTube channel and made that for me.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And so the crime scene tape, what's the picture of it? Is it a field?
It's just what was already up in my office. It's just art that was up in my office before I started doing this stuff.
Oh, you're fancy. You got a whole office. My wife just shoved me into a closet. I'm stuck in here with Tom Cruise.
I gave Mr. Zed the entire basement, and I took one spare. The bed. This is a twin size bed that the dogs are on. That is my guest. This is my guest bedroom. That's what it is.
Look at.
So I'm sorry to any guests that come. That I changed the bedding and stuff before people come.
Gotcha. All right. So now that I've derailed your show with conspiracies.
You don't even want to know what's on my bookshelf. There's 2 different Bibles on my bookshelf, along with other books.
What do you mind? Do you mind telling me what 2 different types? What do you mean?
I have a Catholic Bible, and then I have. Oh my! Where's my other Bible? Here it is. I thought I had it out next to me because I was reading it earlier today. It's just a King James. This is the one that I mainly. It's got bookmarks and stuff. My Catholic Bible is my family's Bible that was passed down to me. So I was reading that one, and it was falling apart a little bit, and I didn't want to mess it up.
Right.
So I have this one.
So you're one of those Catholic girls, huh?
I am. That is correct. 12 years of Catholic school.
Come on, Virginia. Virginia, don't make me wait. You Catholic girls start much too late. Sooner or later, it comes down to fate. All right, I'm stopping now.
All right. I think
that Marine might as well be the one. Mr. Zed, salute.
I think that's got to be the show. I got to go make dinner for Mr. Zed. It's already 8 o'clock.
What flavor of crayon is on the menu tonight?
Purple.
Purple?
Yep.
It's his favorite flavor.
Purple with like shredded red on top, like they do at Olive Garden.
So I got a joke for Mr. Zed.
Okay.
What is the
I'm
Air
scared.
Force? You could partially answer this too, probably. You can give it a guess. So, what does the Air Force call a helicopter?
What?
A helo. What does the Army call a helicopter?
What?
A chopper. What do the Marines call a helicopter?
What? That's fairly accurate from what I know of my husband's Marine friends.
Love you, Mr. Zed. Yeah, we do that. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We'd love to see the Marines. The Marines kick ass. We occupy.
Yep. That's how it goes.
Uh-oh. Did he say anything?
He has not. I literally lock him in the basement.
How dare you? I saw him chatting. Maybe he's in my chat. Maybe he likes my chat better because I don't lock him in the basement.
He only gets locked in the basement while I'm doing my show, just in case you guys are wondering. He says luggage ugga.
Luggage ugga. Exactly. All righty. Well, thanks for having me. Do you want me to hop out while you do your extra, or just stand by and mute my mic?
Yeah. Just say goodbye. Plug your channel one more time. Tell people where they can find you. Are you muted?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm not used to this low profile. There we go. If you hit it, it kind of goes just a little bit. There we go. It's good. By the way, I highly recommend this Elgato. I had almost the same exact one you're using right there. It's plastic. This Elgato is like all metal, pretty much. $99.
Oh, like the arm, you mean?
Yeah, it's like this whole thing. I just had to replace mine because my other one, it has that one I think has a cable in it.
It does.
And
The cable's
yeah,
inside.
eventually the cable will pop. That's what happened to mine like a day ago. It just went, So, and I do kind of yank mine around way too much, but yep, I'm generally specific. You can find me over at generally, I think it's at generally_specific. You can also find me at Subpar Gaming Alpha. I am the most subpar gamer that also is an alpha. I only put alpha because Subpar Gaming was already taken. But anyway, if you want some subpar gaming and some fun chats, come on. Your dog can't even. She's like, this guy's boring. She just fell right over.
She likes to like lay with her head upside down. I don't know what her deal is.
Hilarious, dude. She just fell right over. She's like, what is going on? She's like, with that boring guy, shut up. But thank you very much for having me, and I hope you don't regret it.
Yeah, I don't, not at all. Somebody asked in my chat what kind of crime I like to cover. Asked in your chat, rather. I cover whatever piques my interest. That's what I cover. I cover whatever I want to. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I do like to cover cases that have an ending. I hate the internet sleuths who only cover like unsolved stuff. I want to know that somebody got caught and the boogeyman is off of the street. Do you see what I mean?
Did you ever cover who's the kid Brandon with the one guy that got put into jail twice? The kind of like weird, and something about a bonfire, and they found pieces of the body in a bond. It was all over Netflix.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't cover that because Netflix covered it thoroughly, and every other true crime channel
they got
on
it
YouTube.
wrong.
But every single other true crime channel on YouTube has covered it thoroughly. I like to cover cases that aren't as well known, although I did cover some well known stuff. So basically, stuff that piques my interest. That didn't really tickle my fancy. The case that I have coming up here soon, I haven't seen any true crime channels cover it at all. Actually, it's Jeffrey Hazelwood, and he murdered 2 young kids in my area of the country that I live in, and it was horrible, and it was all over my local news, and I haven't seen anybody talking about it, but this guy was certifiably nuts and was just wandering around the streets. So I did get all of the FOIA request information in on that, and I've been slowly sifting through it. I don't know if you've ever done a FOIA request, but they send so much stuff, so much that there's like it just files upon files, hours, probably 24 hours worth of video they sent between all of the police interviews and body cam and all of that stuff. So I'm going through it slowly but surely, and I will have something probably by the end of this month on that.
Question for you.
Yep.
When you FOIA something of that size, is there a pretty good price tag with it? Or
It depends on if anybody's FOIA'd it before. If you're the first person to FOIA it, it is very expensive. Then it gets cheaper and cheaper until sometimes it doesn't cost anything.
Okay.
So
you put out a second mortgage. I heard that. Okay.
I did not for this one. The local news agencies usually FOIA everything first, so there's not usually generally everything that I've done FOIA requests on. I think the largest cost that I've occurred is $50, which Waffle Salter makes up for in the chat. So I'm able to FOIA the next one. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am. Do you want me to drop? Do you want me to sit in the basement? What do you want me to do?
No, just hang out. I'm going to say
Okay.
goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Have a nice day. Please go over to Generally Specific channel, subscribe there. If you're on his, subscribe to mine. I'm going to get the right page up in front of me so I can hit the outro button and just hang out for a second. If you will, we can chat after.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.
First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man, Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Won't you so loco? Show off your photos, throw out your Twinkies, throw up your ho-hos, tuck in them pinkies. Them shits a no-no. The first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Brought to my attention by the man